What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening, or will be very shortly, by Ryan McCluskey, which can only mean one thing. Yes, it is the college football podcast. And then there were 12. Yes, it is time for your weekly dose of college knowledge. And Ryan, I hope you're doing well. Championship weekend has come and gone. We have nine new champions in the world of FBS football, and now, for the first time ever, we're going into a 12-team playoffs. We're there. We're at the business end. We're going to see all the interesting storylines and everything come out now that we head into the playoffs.
Yep, we're now in uncharted territory. These are shark-infested waters. 12 sharks instead of four. I think they did a good job. There was a lot of chance for them to screw this up, but I thought the committee went about it very logically. And
I'm
yeah,
with
we've got some very intriguing matchups as well. Like I said, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, this is. I'm in agreement with you. I don't think they made a single mistake, which is weird. It felt like going into this, there could be the potential for a lot of people to be upset, but they stuck to their guns. Hopefully, we get some competitive fixtures now we're going in there. So today we're going to be taking a look back at Championship weekend. We're going to be taking a look back at the second round of the FCS playoffs, and then we're going to dip our beak into the coaching carousel, the transfer portal. There's all sorts of stuff going on at the minute. This is the part of the year where college football starts going crazy for bits like this. So we're going to try and wrap our heads around some of that. As always, if you're in the building, shout out, say hi. We'll give you a shout out on the show. If you've any questions, let us know. And we'll get them in because we're at that point of the year now. We're sort of starting to head into draft season now. So any draft questions, just let us know about that. I already know Brent Dewitt is in the chat, and of course he is. Congratulations to the Army Black Knights on their AAC championship. Yes, well done there, Brent. Mile markers in the building as well. I mean, that was one of several absolute hammerings dished out this weekend. Like a lot of these championship games were not competitive, and that was one of them. But we'll dive into that very shortly. Let's just get the housekeeping out of the way. Roar of the Lions UK Discord, if you want in, let us know. We'll fire you across a link for that. The main podcast the Detroit Lions version of our podcast will be back on Friday. We're thinking it's the Buffalo Bills preview, big one for the Lions this weekend coming up. So join us for that there. Don't forget to like and sub to everything, Twitch, YouTube, all that good stuff. We've just gone above 1,800 subs on YouTube. So thank you to everyone out there who backs us. We really appreciate it. And you're the reason we carry on doing this. So pat yourselves on the back there. Don't forget about Lions Nation Unite as well, Herman Moore's project to bring together a whole host of Detroit Lions content creators into one forum to talk everything Lions. You'll see me on there occasionally. You'll see a lot of other great guys on there as well. So back that as well. If you can, we're an affiliate on Twitch. We're monetized on YouTube with a tip jar, with all that sort of stuff. So if you want to help us that way, great. But we just prefer having you around first and foremost. And we've got the feedback form as well. So any feedback you have on the shows, just let us know and we will take it on board. Right, let's get all that stuff out the way. I will dive into Twitch later. So if anyone's on Twitch, I will shout you out when we get in there. My marker goes competitive fixtures in brackets, lol. Yeah, some of these were not very competitive at all. But before we get into the championship week bits, we'll do what we always do. And there's one set of playoffs that have already begun. The first round was 2 weeks ago. The second round was last week, and we hand this over to Ryan here. And the FCS playoffs, Ryan, the second round, 16 teams left, eight home seeded favorites, and they all won. What went on in week two of the FCS playoffs?
Uh, Business as usual, wasn't it? Like I said, like I suppose this is the point where you just get very few upsets in the FCS playoffs. Like I said, Tarleton State would be competitive, and to be fair, they did. Scored over 30 points, but in the end, didn't get close. Lehigh, like I say, fell short against the Vandals. I said Montana. Well, Montana got their ass whipped. Expected. Villanova kept it tight, but in the end, like I say, UIW, the Cardinals. There's a reason they were seeded so high. Strong defense both sides of the ball. One fact is, I did watch the NDSU game, and what for a quarter or a half, they were in trouble. They were like 17-3 down, and it was for a fortuitous, like I say, a turnover that is the only reason they got back into that. At the half, I believe they were level, and then they just did an old-fashioned what they ran away with it. But for the first half of the game, they were uncategorically sloppy, especially on their defense. They got picked apart. So in the end, they came out strong winners, but started fairly slowly. Yeah. Uh, Rhode Island, like say, they got the narrowest of margins. Like say, I didn't know what to expect with Mercer. I didn't know how competitive they'd be from the conference they came out of, but the Rams showed a little bit too much for them. So yeah, everyone's expected to show up did in some form or fashion or another.
Yeah, so as I say, we had 8 home victories. So number 10 Rhode Island defeated by Mercer 17-10, the 7th seed. Montana, the number 14 seed, lost 35-18 to South Dakota State. Incarnate Word, the number 6 ranked team, won 13-6 at home against Villanova. Montana State took down the UT Martin Skyhawks 49-17. North Dakota State 51-31 winners over Abilene Christian. Number 4, South Dakota, 42-31 winners over Tarleton State. UC Davis, the number 5 seed, beating Illinois State 42-10. And then the number 8 ranked Idaho Vandals beating Lehigh 34-13. Only 2 one-score games in there right out of the 8 of them. So I think, like you mentioned,
Yeah,
maybe the seedings committee were correct, right? All 8
yeah,
top seeds won quite handily. They got the seedings right.
it does prove that they know what they're talking about when yeah they do predict a lot of the sides. I don't know, it's just something weird about like say the FCS Plus where there's very few shocks. In recent years, I'm trying to think of a scoreline that I saw that went like, whoa, what the hell happened there? You just don't get a lot of them.
No, no, you don't at all. And that means we've got this really weird. So we've got the quarterfinals coming up next. So we've got the top 4 seeds all at home against the next 4 seeds. So we've got number 1 Montana State at home to the number 8 Idaho Vandals. You've got number 3 South Dakota State at home to number 6 Incarnate Word. Number 4 South Dakota at home to number 5 UC Davis. And number 2 North Dakota State at home to the plucky number 7 Mercer Bears. So, right, do we foresee anyone in the, do we foresee anybody out of the top 4 causing an upset on the road this week, or do you reckon we're going to get home sweeps again?
Uh, I look at Zach Calzada, I look at Incarnate Word, and I think, have they got the offense? Yeah, they've got some offense, but do they have the defense? That's the question. Can their defense stop the Jackrabbits and keep it close? I don't think they can. If I'm going to look, I think the Aggies, the UC Davis, for me, are probably the closest you might get to a proper healthy leather shootout and may possibly cause an upset. There's very little between them being fourth and five. I feel like that could be one of the games of the entire tournament. So they're South Dakota are good, but they're not that much better. And I really don't feel like home advantage makes all that much difference for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will see what happens there. Obviously, the Dakotas, if they both win, in fact, you can still get your semi-final bracket here. You have Montana State facing off against UC Davis, and you got North Dakota State taking on South Dakota State. So your bracket
Yeah,
still
it can still
potentially
play.
there.
Yeah. I suppose it's just a lot easier to predict to be FCS playoffs somehow.
I say go with the rankings. That's what you do. But yeah, that is everything that's gone on in the FCS playoffs there, and we will wait to see if anyone can cause an upset this coming week. But yeah, it's quarterfinal week. We will see with eager eye what goes on. Right, let's move it on. Let's go into the conference champions championship games now because yeah, those are a lot more fun to talk about because some of these at least were competitive. But of course, we've got 9 new conference champions. We'll do the group of 5 ones first, then we'll move into the Power Four. Then we'll talk about the playoffs and the brackets and all that going on there. So this is so odd. So out of the group of five champions, there's five of them. Two of them have already lost their head coaches. Just completely odd how some of these have gone about. Some teams have won their championship and might be worse off it for in the long run. But we're going to start in the Sun Belt Championship game first, and the Marshall Thundering Herd on the road at the Louisiana Raging Cajuns at Raging Cajun Stadium. So Marshall were the road side. Marshall coming out 31-3 winners on the road in their opposition's own home. For Marshall, this is their first ever win in the Sun Belt Championship game. It's their first championship win in 10 years. The last one was 2014, and this is in just their third season in the Sun Belt since their realignment from the CUSA. And they did this in pretty dominant fashion. They set two Sun Belt Championship game records with this win. So they are the very first team to win the Sun Belt Championship as a road team. Home team has always won every fixture before this. Marshall have booked that trend for the first time, and the margin of victory, 28 points, is the largest ever margin of victory in the Sun Belt title game. Charles Huff, their head coach or former head coach, he's the first African American head coach to win the Sun Belt. And this was a little bit of a rollicking when I can find the right one. Where are we here? So Marshall, 415 yards of offense on the day, 193 through the air, 226 on the ground. The Raging Cajuns had just 256 yards of offense. They had 200 through the air, just 70 on the ground, and they were hit very hard in this game by the loss of their quarterback, Chandler Fields, in the second quarter. He took a very nasty hit while he was on a quarterback scramble. Nothing on the defender. It was a legit hit. He was up there. He was up there, free to be hit. But it took him out of the game, and they had to replace him with the freshman Daniel Beal, who took his place in there. And this Marshall defense, for those who don't know, absolutely furiously good. So they were 22nd in the nation in sacks, 26th in the nation in tackles for loss. They had the 11th best third down defense in the country. And when you look on the day at the stats, Louisiana converted more fourth downs than they did third downs. They were 2 of 16 on third downs on the day. They were 3 of 6 on fourth downs. But this was a case where Marshall played from the front for most of it. Louisiana started off with a field goal from 40 yards out, but then Marshall just took this one to town. 31 unanswered points. They had 3 scores before half-time. Braylon Braxton, the quarterback, opened their defense completely up with a deep downfield shot to Tyshawn Chapman for 37 yards for a touchdown. Then you had Ethan Payne, who ran in a rushing touchdown, the running back from 15 yards out. They had a field goal in there as well. So they were 17-3 up at the half. Then in the second half, Braylon Braxton with an absolutely beautiful throw to Braylon Brown for 20 yards for a touchdown. It was a wonderful one-handed grab in the back of the end zone. And then they had a rushing touchdown with 2 minutes to go to effectively end this one. And, talk about the game first, right? But we talked last week, Marshall are the running team. They love to run the football. Louisiana have been a great story this season, but losing the quarterback hurts. They lost their starter right at the beginning of the season. This was technically the second string guy. You have to go down to the freshman. You're playing from behind. You have to put it on its arm against the defense who just loves to get after a quarterback and cause turnovers. There was just the one turnover on the day, one pick from Marshall, which was absolutely fantastic again. But this is an absolute beatdown from this Marshall side who recovered from that awful year last year when I predicted them to win the Sun Belt last year. Just 12 months too late with that prediction, but fantastic performance from them and very, very worthy winners.
Yeah. They They started fast. Their defense got strong. They built a big lead, and the other team was lost its quarterback and also shell shocked. They never really stood any footing of coming back from that game. It got too far away from them. It unraveled very quickly, and in the end, which you don't want to see, turned into a total non-contest. And yeah, a very worthy winner. Like I say, they was just the better team in all phases. They were great to watch. It capped off a great year. And then what rolled out to be the most bizarre week I've ever seen would follow. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so odd. I do not understand what's happened in the days since.
Yeah, so of course, Marshall celebrating their first championship in 10 years. Everything's going well, but the lead up to this game was overshadowed by the fact that head coach Charles Huff's contract was about to expire and they've not offered him a new one, or they hadn't offered him a new one. Rumors running rampant that him and the athletic director do not see eye to eye at all, and they have a heavy dislike of one another. And basically, right after the game had done, they'd had like one night to celebrate. It came out the next day that he was done. He was gone. They are not renewing his contract right after winning them or something in what is probably the most competitive division in conference in the entire group of five. He's just won them a championship and then they've let him go. And now, of all places, he's gone. He stayed in the Sun Belt, a big middle finger to them. He's gone to Southern Miss, who were the worst ranked team in the Sun Belt. So he's gone from winning the championship to now coaching the worst team in the Sun Belt in a matter of days. And the fallout from this, beat writers at Marshall expect pretty much
Everybody has
the
hit the floor.
entire team to leave. And this would be, I remember when Timmy Chang went to Hawaii, their previous head coach pissed everyone off and they lost everybody. And I mean, they lost like nearly 40 guys to the portal. They're saying this could be unprecedented in the amount of players they lose. The quarterbacks in the portal, star running backs in the portal, a lot of guys coming, obviously star edge rushers come into the draft, but they say it could be unprecedented. They say the entire team could go down. I mean, it's crazy, right? Why
Are they
doesn't
going to
the
be able to
AD
play the
like
ball?
him?
Are they going to have a roster to play the ball game?
They've said they are.
It don't. It remains to be seen. I wouldn't be surprised if they get replaced.
Yeah, it's an absolutely crazy set of circumstances. But Charles Huff has already gone and got himself a new job. I mean, Southern Miss have got themselves a good one there, and I mean, if
Why
he
there?
takes, I guess they will give him more money. I mean,
Money?
Southern Miss is an underperforming program, and they probably have thrown a bag at him. And I mean, if he can take a chunk of that Sun Belt winning Marshall team with him, like Kurt Signetti did with Indiana, took a big chunk of his team, got to Indiana, was able to implement his scheme quickly, more so than other new head coaches. Maybe it'll be there, but I was confused when this came out. But for Louisiana, on the flip side of this, I mean, DeSomo was on, I'd say not a hot seat. He had two bowl games in a row. Now he's got to a championship game, which has got him some levity, but the manner of this defeat has probably just put him back not on a hot seat, but let's just say he's not probably got as much goodwill as he built up by getting there because they've been absolutely thoroughly twonked here. And he's probably going to need to have a good bounce back year next year, right?
Yeah. Getting to a championship is great. Like you say, it keeps his head above water. And then you get your ass handed to you, and a lot of fans probably a bit embarrassed by it, probably thinking, if I'd known this was going to happen, I'd rather not got there at all. So yeah, it's like you say, he's gone from a gas mark 4 to a gas mark 3. But if this were to happen again next year, oddly, it probably would be the death of him to lose another championship.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be. And props out for this Marshall defense. An 84% stop rate on the day, which is just absolutely insane. That's plays not going more than 1 or 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. Seven tackles for loss, two sacks, an interception, as I say, kept Louisiana to 2 of 16 on third downs, kept them at 3 of 6 on fourth downs, 14% havoc rate. That's like absolutely crazy numbers from them. And they've got a very intriguing prospect coming to the draft. Ryan Mike Green, their edge rusher. There's a lot. There's people out there mocking him in the end of the first round. This is how good this guy has been for them, and maybe a name to watch out for going forward. But he's certainly been one of the figureheads behind what has been an absolutely awesome defense this year for them.
Yeah, he has spearheaded defense that their defensive line in general, like I say, has just wrecked game plans. It's dismantled run games. It's harassed quarterbacks all season. And most good lines do have that figurehead, which then generates pressure, takes up just time and effort from other people, and helps them get free. And yeah, this is a guy you're going to expect to see well, for him, probably sit out the ball game, but then head to an east-west, a shrine, a senior, a hula. Like I say, he's going to do really well and benefit from one of those. And yeah, if he does go out and show flash on tape, then yeah, he's going to have a very strong. If he gets a combine invite out of a potential good post-season workout, then the sky's the limit for him, and he could be flying up draft boards.
Exactly, indeed. So congratulations to Marshall, but the future for them very murky right now. They have just hired um, our defensive coordinator from NC State. So poor guy's got his Tim Beck had to go to Coastal Cal just after they gutted that program out, and now he's gonna have to go to a Marshall team, which is absolutely gutted for want of a better word. So good luck to you there, Sunshine. But that one's not going to be easy to keep afloat right from the off. Right, let's move it on, and we go to the CUSA Championship game next in what was the biggest blowout in a series of blowouts this weekend. We talked about Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State last week. They played each other as a dress rehearsal for this. We said Jacksonville State probably resting a few guys. They weren't really feeling it. They were saving themselves for the big one because Western Kentucky that won that game. And we said Jacksonville State probably going to come back strong with a vengeance in this. And boy, oh boy, did they. Jacksonville State 52, Western Kentucky 12 in a game which Jacksonville State rushed for more yards than Western Kentucky had offense. We talked about the run game coming up against the spread offense and which one would, um, succeed out of those two. And it was always going to be the run game here. Jacksonville State had 554 yards of offense compared to 229 for Western Kentucky. They had 380 yards rushing at 6.9 yards per carry. That just kind of goes to show you how dominant they were in this. Western Kentucky started and ended the first half with field goals from 54 yards and 44 yards, but sandwiched in between that, 4 touchdowns for Jacksonville State. First two were passing ones from Tyler Huff, first to Sean Brown and then to Cam Vaughan, and then elite running back there, Trey Stewart ran in for a couple of touchdowns as well from 4 and 6 yards out. They started the second half with another rushing touchdown, this time from Tyler Huff. Then they got a field goal from Garrison Ripper to make it 38-6. Western Kentucky got their only touchdown of the game with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. Caden Veltkamp to sophomore Keyshawn Johnson for 25 yards out. Was a really good pass. They failed the 2-point conversion, still 26 points down at this point. And then just to add insult to injury, Jacksonville State tack on 2 further touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Trey Stewart had a rushing touchdown from 29 yards out. And then Logan Smothers, the backup quarterback, on a 4th and goal with 3 minutes left, they didn't show them any mercy. They didn't go for the field goal. They brought the backup quarterback in, ran for 10 yards for a touchdown to finish it off 52-12, and my God, Ryan, what an absolute ass kicking here. Trey Stewart, 27 carries, 201 yards, 3 touchdowns at 7.4 yards per carry. Tyler Huff, the quarterback, 23 carries, 167 yards and a touchdown. That's broken the CUSA championship game record for most rushing yards by a quarterback in a game there. Of course, Logan Smothers had his rushing touchdown as well. Western Kentucky did have their own 100-yard rusher, Elijah Young. He had 18 carries for 108 yards, but Veltkamp got sacked for over 40 yards, which brought the rushing total down there. He fumbled once, was strip sacked. He was strip fumbled. The running back was strip fumbled. It was a two turnover game, both turnovers for Jacksonville State, and yeah, as we kind of expected, Bri, they rested up for this and they went out and absolutely stomped a hole in them. And who would have thunk this after the first month of the season when Jacksonville State were 0-3, coming off a loss to Eastern Michigan, which they really should have won, and you're thinking, oh boy, yeah, this is going to be a bad second season for them here. And then just like that, they won at home, come in, turned it all around, eight on the bounce, had that one little blip last week, but they've really found that run game and they've found a quarterback who can throw the ball as well to dangerous effect when the field, shortens in and the box is stacked. And Rich Rodriguez has his championship after just 2 years in the CUSA.
Yeah. Felt like a long time coming for Rich Rodriguez. Always wanted to play aggressive trench football, especially on offense. And you saw as the weeks progressed, their run offense just getting more and more substantial. It's starting to overpower teams. It's starting to control the time of clock. It's starting to grind teams down. That's when Tyler Huff and the arm gets warm because defenses have to they got to sell out. And when you've got to sell out to stop the run and you're asking your defensive backs to have an eye on a running back or be a close line of scrimmage, pass game opens. Like I say, Tyler Huff, the numbers weren't big this year, but didn't have to be because he was efficient. Because the run game was so fearsome, guys would be left one on the outside because everyone stacked the box, and he could then go ahead and pick you off. We saw it in this game. Only, like I say, 11 of 17, but that's all it had to be. Didn't put the ball in Ham's way. Bit of a pedestrian, bit of a handoff merchant, and then on designed runs, on QB draws, on stuff like that, powers. Like I say, he's got some wheels too. Shorter, lighter guy. Like I say, it's really good with ball in the hands, and this has just been their blueprint all season. And I was not surprised to see them dominate on the ground. It just felt like I said the game before against Western Kentucky. They just left a lot out there. Like I say, they just weren't that bothered about exerting themselves, knowing they'd already punched their ticket. It was a dress rehearsal, and it looked like one. And then we saw, like say, the real thing the week later. And yeah, if they can bring back a good portion of defensive line, and like say whether they lose like I said, their star back if they keep him, then yeah, next year they'll have a good shot of defending it.
Absolutely. You wouldn't bet against them at this point.
On the flip side, though, wait, WKU looking for a new signal caller as of this morning.
Yeah.
So another big question mark. The Sun Belt, I feel like it's been ravaged.
Yeah. Caden Veltkamp, yeah, he's in. I don't blame him. They bought in TJ Finley to replace him. Finley got injured, so Veltkamp's only played because Finley's been injured. I wouldn't show
Six
loyalty to a
six,
program that tried to.
sophomore,
Yeah.
big frame, big arm.
That's
He ain't
it.
gonna struggle.
That's it. He's a red. So he redshirted his freshman year, so he's got an extra
Yeah, he's
year.
got a lot of eligibility. He's got a big frame.
Yeah,
He's a big kid, like I say. He
yeah,
won't struggle. And air raid, he's just got a strong arm. Someone will
yeah.
gladly take a chance on that.
Oh, I hope he'd end up at what if Mattia leaves Washington State, I'd love for him to end up there somewhere. I reckon he's got
Pass
the
heavy
arm.
offense, yep.
I reckon he's got the arm to
He
go
wants to
and
play
be
air raid
somewhere like
football,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah, or Miss State. Am I just saying that? Miss State. They've got their new quarterback now. Good Lord. We'll talk about transfer portal later, but for Western Kentucky now, this is an issue, right, for Tyson Helton. He has an incredibly, gifted team there. This was very young this year as well. Like that entire receiving core were freshmen last year who were really good, and you're thinking, right, they've probably got the most complete team out of everybody because Liberty lost a lot of players, Jacksonville State lost a lot of players. They were the most stable team here, but they got run over by Liberty last year. They've been run over by Jacksonville State this year. This spread offensive system just doesn't work against the run heavy teams who can control time of possession and, bully them on defense. Like, you figure he's got to change something now because the CUSA seems to be going the way where it's sorry, hang on. But it's going the way where you've got a lot of rush heavy teams there. You've got a lot of guys in. They're going to need to change what they do, right? Because it just seems these teams are coming up and bypassing them, and they're going to be good, but they're going to be the bride. They're going to be the bridesmaid, but never the bride.
Yeah. We've seen the end, the time is nigh one-dimensional teams. If you're a one-dimensional offense, which the Helltoppers have been for years, it was great with like say Bailey Zappi, because he could throw 7, 40, 60, 40 passes a game, and they go out there and they'd score people, and their defense was able to hold up. But he's not there now. Some of those receivers have gone. Obviously, they've got fresh bodies in and they've got good bodies, but they just don't execute as well as they used to now. Like I said, they've got to get better at running the ball. Like I said, they've got to get with the times. Like, there are a lot of teams out there right now that have had a one-track mind for years, and we've seen them try diversify and become a bit more of a pro-style offense. And the next time we need to see the Hilltoppers do that now. We've seen Army and Navy try to throw the ball more. I need to see Western Kentucky in future make a more extended effort to run the ball a little bit better.
Yeah, and you're going to have to defend the run a lot better as well. You can't give up 400 yards
Yeah.
in the ground
They've
in a
neglected
title
areas in
game.
recent years, and now they need to address them.
Yeah, you've got to make that D line and your linebacker core a hell of a lot better against the run. Otherwise, time of possession wins it all. But Jacksonville State, congratulations. Second year in the FBS, already got themselves a championship. They'll get themselves a good bowl game on the back of this as well. So things are looking up for them, unless the head coach is poached. I've heard he's getting linked to West Virginia at the moment, Rich Rodriguez, which actually
I've seen a lot of names
I'd
there, and
be
I've seen some big interviews lined up by West Virginia.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're going big for this. This feels like they're really going to hammer out. But Rich Rodriguez is part of the conversation for that job, so we'll have to be careful and see what happens. I'd love it if he went there, but we will keep a close eye on that one. Right, let's move it on now. Next up, we've got the MAC Championship at Ford Field, Miami of Ohio against the Ohio Bobcats, the Battle of the Bricks, as is more famously known, and probably quite apt because the Ohio Bobcats took a brick and smashed it over the Miami of Ohio Redhawks' head and did away with this thing 38-3. The Bobcats won their first MAC championship since November 1968, when Hey Jude by the Beatles was storming charts across the world for the first time ever. And they've maybe got a bit of divine interference in there from the actor Timothy Chalamet.
So
He was the only one on the game day panel to predict that they were going to win this game. But actually listening to him, he gave one of the most in-depth talks about the Ohio Bobcats I've ever heard in my life. So man did his homework on this, but he picked it. Now the Bobcats love Timothy Chalamet. It's the largest margin of victory ever in the MAC title game, and it is the first time also in a MAC championship game that a team has been held to 0 touchdowns, which is a rarity in itself. And the numbers from this are insane. On offense, total yardage for Ohio, 467 yards. For Miami of Ohio, 189. They had 235 passing yards to 127 for Miami, 232 rushing yards for 62 for Miami, 32 first downs compared to 11 for Miami. 38 minutes time of possession against 22 minutes for Miami of Ohio. And this again just plays absolutely crazy in terms of the yardages. And Parker Navarro, the Ohio quarterback, had himself a day to remember. He had through the air, he was 20 of 27 for 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, didn't throw any picks on the day, got sacked just once. He also had 12 carries for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. Anthony Tyus, the third, Ohio's lead rusher, 27 carries, 151 yards and a touchdown on the day. And they had a whole host of playmakers just going absolutely crazy in this one. For Miami of Ohio, they could not run the ball to save their lives. 63 yards on 22 carries, 2.8 yards per carry. And Brett Gabbert, I mean, he threw a pick. He didn't do much wrong other than the one pick he threw. He was 14 of 25 for 126 yards. But Ohio, Ryan, the Bobcats just took this one by the scruff of the neck early on for Miami of Ohio. This was a big thing for them. They had their longest drive of the game, the first drive of the game. They got to a short fourth down situation in the red zone. They opted to kick a field goal rather than go for it, and they were the only points they got in the entire game. Bobcats win.
Been a really weird season, like in Miami, Ohio. Like statistically, I say this is one of Brett Gabbert's worst seasons. His completion percentage is one of the lowest in his career. His passing attempts have gone through the roof compared to other years. This is a team that felt like yeah, they've taken a step back. They've tried to pass more, run less, and like I say, they've got to the championship. But yeah, offense just found wanting. Another team, like I say, that could not run the ball at all and take any pressure off of Brad. And this was his sixth senior year. He's gone. This is it. Brett Gabbert's going to leave this career and going to have very little to show for it, which is kind of sad because he was such a promising quarterback when he came here and throughout the years. But yeah, this was just one way traffic. And considering there's only two penalties each as well, very clean game. It was just domination. Like I said, on the ground, through the trenches, good part of nearly entire quarter more of possession for Ohio, nearly 15 minutes more. And their defense just, yeah, it smothered the wrong game. It took away the pass game, put too much pressure on Brett. I'd say threw an interception, but in the end, yeah, he's just chipping away, dinking and dunking, just dumping it off to the running back. There's no chance for an explosive play. They've got behind, and in the end, yeah, it quickly unravelled for them. And I think even the fans realised pretty quickly that, yeah, they were heading on a one-way street to nowhere. And on the other side, let's say Parker Navarro, just perfect. You couldn't have asked for him. This will probably be his best performance he ever does in the jersey. Like I say, he protected the ball. He was incredibly efficient through the air. And when he was asked to run, or when, like say, a play broke down, he was able to keep plays alive with his legs, stretch the field, carry on drives. And Tyus just did what he did. He's just a guy that moves the chains, extends drives, carries defenders, hits the hole, and just works incredibly hard. So yeah, it was just such a disciplined performance. Like I said, none of their drives ended in penalties. They didn't let themselves down. Very few negative plays. Just played good, clean football.
Yeah, and it kind of goes to show the sort of day you're having when they said that the longest drive the Red Hawks had in the second quarter was one set of downs. They didn't even get a second down. Like that was just how bad this was. And the Ohio defense, they were good on the day. Just the one sack, five tackles for loss, but they had the interception in there as well. They just completely crucified the run game. Third down success, they were 70% on that. It was great to see for them, and as I say, their first title since 1968. That's absolutely crazy. That is breaking some serious records there for them. So we've got a new champion atop the MAC world, but we mentioned that two of the championship winning teams have not got their coaches anymore. Marshall was one, and Ohio is the other. Tim Albin has finally reached the pinnacle with them, got them to the top of the building. He's now gone to Charlotte to replace Biff Poggi, who was unceremoniously fired a few weeks ago. Now, on the scheme of things, you look at that and you're like, why? Charlotte have been a very bad football team for a long time now. They've not recovered from the first few years of Will Healy when they looked like they were going to be decent. But this Biff Poggi regime has been awful. Can only assume maybe there's going to be a bit more money in this for him with them being in the American, etc. Does seem. I don't know, Ryan. What do you think? Do you think this is a good move for him, or do you think he probably should have stayed and tried to create his own little dynasty in the MAC now? Because going to Charlotte, it's not going to be easy going to the American, especially now you've got a service team kicking everyone's ass at the top.
Uh, I respect it. I respect coaches, like you say. He's reached the top he can here, and he's going to go and take on a massive challenge. Like I say, it's going to be a long term, 3, 4 years. Build a roster, get out the dead wood, try bring maybe some of the players you can, starting from the bottom. Like I say, got little to work with. So it's going to be an all-in project. Like I say, he's going to need money. He's going to need long-term commitment from the AD. Like I say, the facilities and everything. So I respect that. Like I say, maybe sometimes, like I say, I don't mind, when you leave, like say, when you're on top. Sometimes you bow out when you've left a team in the best possible place. Whoever takes over from him is inheriting a great team that is ready and hopefully can. I imagine I'd go someone internal, someone that knows the players, someone from him, and like say carry on his good work while he, like say, goes to a reclamation project. Will it go well? Will it go terrible? It'll be only one of the two. Like I say, it'll either be a disaster and he regrets it very quickly, or if he wins over the 49ers fans and gets them competitive again, then he'll be seen as a bit of a genius. So, yeah, I like risk takers like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's
They,
fair.
they
And
often yield the biggest rewards.
yeah, and like he's earned his way there. This is not like the Poji thing always seemed really weird from Charlotte, sort of them taking him in when he'd only ever coached high school before and he'd been an analyst at Michigan. It just didn't feel like the right fit. So they're at least going to get themselves someone who's experienced. And hopefully Ohio come out better for this. Hopefully their stock has risen now that they get themselves a good head coach who can keep the success moving on forward. But well done for the Bobcats in there. For the Red Hawks, they will always be competitive. Like I say, new era now, new quarterback, got to get that sorted, but you would figure they're still going to be in the hunt next year. And then let's move it on to the final of the group of fives. I think it's the final one. Anyhow, one, two, three. No, it's the fourth one. I don't know who I've missed out. Oh, yeah, we've got the Mountain West to go as well. The American Championship game, the one Brent's been waiting to hear about, the Tulane Green Wave at the Army Black Knights. Army, a one-loss season for them. We're never going to get to the playoffs, unfortunately, coming off that loss to Notre Dame. And damn, did they take their anger out on Tulane. Army winning 35-14 to win their first ever conference championship. Now, they have been an independent for time immemorial, so maybe not as graceful as that sounds, but still, massive achievement for them. And this was a game Tulane are going to want to go back, and their special teams coordinator might get fired because of this game. There are two big drives to start this game. The first drive was 8 plays, 48 yards to open it up, 4.5 minutes off the clock. And a play that I've never seen before, Ryan. They were settling for a field goal. The snap was made, the hold was made, the kicker runs up, and then he just stops. He
Why
does
didn't he
not
kick it?
like he stopped. And I mean he just stopped. He didn't like the hold for whatever reason. He didn't like the hold. He stopped and he let his holder get absolutely wasted by about three Army defenders. Like, for me, I'd be absolutely furious if I was the holder for that. He saw something he didn't like. He chickened out of it, let the holder get absolutely banjaxed, and Army were able to turn it over on downs. They went down the field, of course they would. 11 plays, 72 yards, 6.5 minutes off the clock. That's what you do. That's Army football. They were able to get the rushing touchdown with Bryson Daly, the quarterback, who's just had himself one hell of a year. In response, Tulane put together another good drive, 12 plays, 46 yards, drive that spans nearly 7 minutes. But once again, Army are able to make the stop, and Tulane are forced into taking a field goal from about 38 yards out, and the kicker hits it wide right. Like, this thing misses by a decent distance, and so Army are able to turn it over again on a field goal. Now, in respect to our Tulane here, Army drive all the way down to the Tulane 3, but they are then turned away on a fourth down, which, absolutely fine there. They give it over, but then a minute later, Darian Mensah throws a pick. Army get it back, and they drive straight back down the field. Takes them about a minute and a half to go 80 yards. The running back he runs off about a 70-yard. It's a really good
Udo just
defensive
cuts through the
stop.
middle of me. He is gone.
Udo goes through the middle. He's gone. He's toe tapped about 3 yards out, and he is absolutely furious. He gets 3 yards away. They stop him, and then Bryson Daly gets all the credit, takes it in for the second rushing touchdown. So they're punished on both turnovers there. And then, just when you think it can't get any worse, Tulane cough up a kick return off the kickoff from their second touchdown. So returner actually does really well. He gets all the way back to the 45, and he gets a little too greedy. He gets slung round. The ball comes out. Army turn it over. Um, and then they're able to drive back down again, and then they get touchdown number three. Bryson Daly, once again, down for 4 yards out this time. He has a three touchdown first half. Tulane are able to get one back just before halftime. Mario Williams, the former superstar recruit by USC, he gets a 42-yard touchdown pass from Darian Mensah to give them a little bit of hope. It's 21-7 at the break, but then Army just come out again and absolutely beat the brakes off them into the ground. Bryson Daly gets his fourth rushing touchdown of the day from 7 yards out. Kanye Udo then finally gets his just desserts. They let him run it in from 1 yard out with about 6 minutes left in this game to make it 35-7. Tulane get a consolation at the end. Darian Mensah to Alex Bauman from 2 yards out for a touchdown. They just kick the things. They know 2 points aren't going to save this. There's only a minute left. And Army come out 35-14 winners. 357 yards of offense. 333 of it was on the ground. The only turnover of the day was in Army's favor, that interception. Darian Mensah does what he can. 16 of 24, 193 yards, two touchdowns, one interception. But Mackie Hughes is kept quiet. He's 14 carries for 66 yards, but they're so far behind, they have to take it away from him. This was the Bryson Daly and Kanye Udo show, Ryan, and it was the Army defensive day as well. 5 tackles for loss, a sack. 14% havoc rating for them. They just absolutely crazy. But for Tulane, special teams nightmare, and Army just punished them every single time at the start of the game. You can't do that. You get behind against them. There's no way back.
No, like you say, with Army style of football, you can't turn the ball over. Like you say, one kicker. I don't care if you don't like snap. Kick the ball. You can't leave the holder out to dry. That could have easily been a touchdown there and then. Like I say, because he's hammered, they recover it, they try to return it, and they're stopped. Like I say, left him out to hang to dry. He didn't know what to do, and everyone got a free shot at him. And like I say, a kick return that you feel like could be a score. Like you say, but he's carrying the ball like a loaf of bread when he should be carrying it like a newborn baby. You gotta make sure you change hands. You've got to protect it. Like I say, it's ripped out. And like I say, a bad interception. The Knights on special teams were fantastic, and their defense was very good and opportunistic. And yeah, Mensah, he's had some bad interceptions this year. Like I said, there's been some big plays, but yeah, with Udo and Daly, who I suppose you could make a very strong case that Bryson Daly, if he plays for another team, probably is a Heisman finalist. It's purely because he plays for Army that he'll have got no consideration whatsoever. Had an absolutely phenomenal year. He's been protected the ball through the air whenever he's decided to throw it, and on the ground he's been absolutely dominant. Him and Udo were just a tandem. Like I say, both in the backfield. You just don't know what they're going to do. And like I say, when they've got the tight ends, the lead blockers, the two-lane defense, it's just not strong enough. They're just not built to be able to handle that. And in the end, yeah, they got bulldozed. Like I say, I think Darian might have known that it was probably going to be his last game. Like I say, I don't know if that ever crept in the back of his mind that he was planning to leave before this, but yeah, it wasn't even close in the end. And yeah, Army, what a historical. They're going to look back on this day and remember it very well and fondly. And now we look back at Tulane, another team, bridesmaid, not the bride in recent years. They get so far, and then when it matters the most, like they just lay an egg.
Yeah, not since their win a couple of years ago have we. They've disappointed since, which is a shame. And 4 losses for them this year, so you got to go back to the drawing board. Kind of fancying them maybe for one of the playoff spots, but they'll come back. But they'll need a new quarterback to do so now. And Maybe Mario Williams stays, maybe not. I don't know if he's in the portal yet, but he's had a decent year after sort of tumbling down after being the super five star at USC, who never made it, but we'll see what goes on with them. But well done to Army. This just does everything for service football. It shows you that in the modern day, service football can win. And I mean, hey, they've done all right on the back of it. Their O-line coach has been snapped up by Central Michigan. He's now a head coach now. So Army are actually sending out positional staff into head coaches in the college football world. So that bodes well for them going forward. We'll watch Central Michigan with great interest with their new Army regimented head coach in charge. And then the final of the group of five. Oh boy, probably the most disappointing of them all in terms of what we were hoping for. But we go to the Mountain West, and it was the rematch UNLV at Boise State. And although this one may seem a little closer on paper, it wasn't very close after the first half. Boise State rule the Mountain Crown once more, 21-7 winners, and they were 21 zip up by halftime, and it looked like this one was going to get ugly. So, in fairness to UNLV, they came out and defended Ashton Giante very well. But the trouble of that meant they were loading nine guys up in the box. They were leaving their secondary very exposed, let's say. And Boise, in their credit, they put the ball in Maddox Madsen's hands. He was 18 of 27 for 151 yards and a touchdown, but he got his passing touchdown in the first quarter to Latrell Caples from 22 yards out on a 3rd and 17. So bad bit of defense from UNLV there. But then when UNLV started to lighten the box to deal with the rushing threat, Ashton Giante got going. Maddox Madsen, he had a rushing touchdown from 14 yards out, and then Ashton Giante burned one out from 75 yards just before the half as well. There were like 30 seconds left. Boise were struggling to score before the half, before that run came out. It was 21-0, and then the second half kind of just turned into Boise playing the time of possession game, just feeding Giante, bringing the clock down. He had 32 carries on the day for 209 yards and a touchdown, 6.5 yard average there. UNLV, they did not get on the board until 9 minutes to go. Greg Burrell had a rushing touchdown from 31 yards out to give them a smither of hope, but they were just never able to get going after that. And then they just sort of ended in a series of turnovers on downs and Boise just working down the clock. The killer for UNLV was they had a 6 minute drive that went 60 yards, 15 plays. They turned it over with about 2 minutes to go. That would have been it there. Boise were able to level it out. And you look at this, Ryan, on paper, this was the right result. Boise have been the best of all the teams in the Mountain West this year. You would have thought UNLV might have learned their lesson, but they didn't. They tried to stop Giante. Maddox burned them. They backed off a bit. Giante burned them. 21-point lead. It's very hard to fight your way out of a hole there. And still a good year for them, but they've got to go back to the drawing board and find a way to take Boise down. As for Boise, Spencer Danielson's first year in charge, championship for him. Obviously, they're going to not have Ashton Giante next year. So it's how do you cope without having one of the best players in college football on your roster? But future's bright for them. There's a lot of other good talented players on that team.
Yeah, as you say, the score line wasn't bad, but I think I was so disappointed by this game. I thought this would be better and more competitive than the first meeting, but in the end, it wasn't. It might have been less, and that was frustrating. As you say, they started slowly, Boise, but I have seen them do that in recent weeks. Like I say, Ashton in recent weeks in the first quarter has kind of struggled to get into the game because, as you say, teams now are going all out to stop him, and they put pressure on Maddox Madsen. And I said that can he win on his own? Like I say, can he win through the air? Is he a good enough quarterback where if a team does sell out and stop, can he do that? Can he pick him off? And he did a good job, like you say, Cottrell's, Camper, the tight end as well. They got the tight end, they got those guys working really quickly, like I say, in a lot of man coverage. Like I say, they're converting on some big third downs and fourth downs, like on the money downs. UNLV early really did not start well. They were too lax in coverage. They were just giving up big, wide holes. Two scores down. And then eventually, like say, the water builds and the dam bursts and Ashton gets going into the half and out the second half. And then, yeah, the stat line he was able to put up in basically the best part of 3 quarters, just so impressive. The defense tires, and in the end, like you say, he's just running away with it, and guys just could not keep up with him. And they huffed, they puffed, they tried to respond. They had some drives, they scored some touchdowns, but it always felt like they were playing catch up and they just weren't explosive enough to get back into it. And a team like Boise, they just know how to manage the game from that point. The clock, no silly penalties. Like I said, this has got some takeaways as well. Like I said, the defense, we've got to remember that this Boise State D line was one of the most sacking in the country. Like I say, it just smothers teams, and some of those guys there will be playing on Sundays in recent years. But yeah, great for them. Like I say, they've now got to find a way to replace one of the best players in college football, probably in the last decade. Their quarterback, like I say, has got plenty of eligibility and a lot of other guys. But yeah, he earned his Heisman finals. It looks like it's not going to be, if you believe the odds and all the people that are just saying Travis must win. It looks like he's got a mountain to climb, even though the stats say it should be more competitive. But yeah, in the end, yeah, just a bit disappointed by the Rebels. Like I say, great year for them, despite what happened in the middle of the season. Next year's got to find a way to go again.
Yeah, like you've still got 2 Power 4 scouts this year. You nearly had a third, and hopefully Harji Malik Williams stays and he gets his second season there. Maybe that's it, just having the quarterback, be able to, because he didn't really have as much of an impact on this game, which I think was the kicker. It's two good teams, but he was 13 of 28 for 75 yards. They're not big completions. They're very small completions. So, you need to kind of air that game out a bit, because when the run game doesn't quite work, then they're not able to get going. And I did feel for him a little bit. Did you see how? Because during the week he'd said he had no idea where Boise was on a map, and every time Boise scored a touchdown, they put up
On the
a
scoreboard, they
map.
put a big
On They
map
put
up
up on
like
the
you.
scoreboard a big map of where Boise was to troll Haj
You should
Malik
know better than
Williams.
to
It's
say,
like,
even whether it's
yeah.
true or not, don't say it because you know that clip's going to get clipped to come back to bite you in the ass, don't you?
Especially when you go into their stadium and they have control of the scoreboard. That's not good getting trolled by an admin. But praise to the admin who did that. They're listening. They're looking for any
Rebs
excuse
need
to go out
work
and make
though,
some
like you say, some
graphics.
big experienced players. Jackson Woodward's probably going to leave, or like I say, may go to the draft eligibility. Ricky White's definitely going to draft in what should be a good receiving class. So big names on both sides of the ball that have to replace,
And it's
which
your
will
co
not
and
be
it
easy.
and it's your coaching as well. I mean, Bob Odom would, he might be in potential for cycles there. Brennan Marion is definitely
Yeah,
in
I've seen
combat.
their names mentioned with some big jobs.
I don't think Brennan Marion's going to be there next year. His go-go offense is going to the Power Four. Bob Odom may go somewhere, so we'll have to see. At least if they do go, they've left UNLV in a much better place than they found them. They are a peripheral contender for the Mountain West now, so it's a shame. But for Boise, seems apt, and they get to go to the playoffs now. Well done to them, and hopefully they can cause an upset for all of us. We need them to go. Or do we? Are they in your bracket? They're not in your bracket, are they? I don't think. No, they're not in your
Nope,
bracket. They're in Penn State's
they're in the
bracket.
other
You're all
half.
right. Yeah, you're all right. So you don't have to worry about that. Although would have liked to have seen Scat versus Gianti, but we digressed there. Okay, let's move it on into the power games. Just the four there, and all right, let's get it over with because I don't really want to talk about this one very much, but mentioned just very briefly there that your Arizona State Sun Devils are in the playoffs, and there's only one reason that they're there, Ryan. It's because they won the Big 12 title game against Iowa State and the Cyclones after you said Iowa State were going to win, and I'm going to have to grit this one out here, but even without their star wide receiver. Nathan Dyson down for a long time to come here. This one was competitive to start. It was 10-0. They traded a field goal and a touchdown early on, but then Arizona State rattled off 5 consecutive touchdowns, and of course it was Cam Skatibu who was doing all the dangerous work there, and Xavier Guillory filling in well for Tyson. He had a couple of receiving touchdowns there, and this one was 45-10 towards the end of the third quarter, and was basically a non-contest. It was a non-contest from about just before the half. You scored just before the half to go two scores up, and we were never able to get back into it. One of your players should be banned for the entire playoffs for nearly killing Rocco Becht, but I will digress to that point there. It was,
Well, they've actually,
have they banned him?
well, no, actually, they've appealed it. I think he's going to be reinstated, Simmons.
Appealed? Get
Yeah,
out.
they've
Right, okay.
challenged the targeting. They
As a
believe
Sun
that it
Devil
could get
fan,
overcalled,
can
Simmons.
you defend that tackle?
Oh
Are
no, when
you
you look
going
at it
to?
and you watch it in real time, it looks terrible.
It's awful. The
Yeah.
fact that they are appeal. Anyhow, I digress. Let's get back to the game.
They're saying they've got a clip, but like I say, I don't know how much it's going to screw. It's going to be hard to turn over, but they're going to try getting back for the first half.
No, they tried to absolutely kill Rocco Becht in that one, but I mean, this was just, everyone talks about Scat and this team, but it's the defense doing some great things. They stopped us running the ball, 7 rushing tackles for a loss. They got a sack in there as well. Um, it's this was just a great performance from Arizona State. Kenny's got that team rolling now. They've got a great quarterback in Sam Levitt, who just seems to annoy Michigan State fans more week by week. Cam running the ball with aplomb. Xavier Guillory stepping into the shoes of Nathan Tyson. This is just a damn good team. It's in form now. For this last month, it's been one of the hottest teams in the country, and they acted like it. And when's the last time they won a championship? This got to be first time in a long time that they've won one. So
Uh,
they,
2000, I think 2006.
there you go, about 20 years then. But I mean, what did you make of this? This was an ass kicking after the first quarter and a half.
Yeah, this one I did not expect this one to run away so quickly. As you say, after half, essentially was a non-score, and it came down to big plays. Like say when the game was close, and then they come out with that 68-yard touchdown, that bomb to Stovall. Like I say, that one, like I say, created the gap. But as you say, it's just it's the runs from Cam. Like I say, the broken tackles. Iowa State defense don't miss tackles usually. They're so sure in the run game, and their DBs, their linebackers. But like I say, he's like a bar of soap. He just spins, he hurdles, he twists. He's so hard to go with him. And he just broke off a few big runs in the first half, put them in. And then, as you say, no Tyson, but Stovall, Guillory, Mattia, all of the receivers chipped in really well. But like I say, it's not hard when your quarterback is just mustard. The balls just were all in between the numbers, just hitting them all in their hands in stride. Balls not in place, like you say, and they were just really good. And yeah, defense, Keyshawn Elliott, Miles Rouse are in the middle. Like you say, just getting into the backfield, hitting a running back, stopping at line of scrimmage. And in recent weeks, the secondary has been so good. Like I say, Robinson, Abney, Simmons, who, yeah, currently will miss the first half, like I say, get back. But guys like these, like I say, coming up, making tackles for loss, getting turnovers, real complete effort. And they've managed to mask over not having a kicker they trust for weeks. And that is just so impressive. Like I say, a team that doesn't trust its special teams would probably not like their chances of a game-winning kicking field goal. They're just not leaving it in their hands. And now like say you look at them and you think in going to playoffs, who would want to play them? Like who right now would want to play them? Like nobody, because none of the players are going to sit out. Cam knows for draft stock in the biggest games, he will play in every playoff game. Some of the guaranteed first rounders won't. The further their team gets, the more they're likely going to be like, I'm thinking of the draft. But say, yeah, well coached. They've got the only offensive coordinator up for the Broyles Award assistant in Marcus Royer. Thoroughly deserved. He could win the award. Yeah, Kenny Dillingham up for Coach of the Year. Like I say,
Rightfully so.
yeah, his interviews this week as well. Like I said, they've had a lot of like backups and guys hit the portal, and he just said, "Look, you do what's best for you. I will help any of you find a school." He doesn't judge any of them. Like I say, he might be one of the most humble, down to earth guys I've seen in recent years, and teams would absolutely kill for him. He's an NFL coach at some point. He's just got a relationship with kids, like I say, and he's just so good at, like I say, getting down to their level. He will not be in college long, I don't think. But yeah, and in the end, on the flip side, let's say Matt Campbell, first 10 win game season in program, a title game. Things just didn't go their way. Like I say, they've had their run game. Like I say, Sarah, I love him, but it's stuttered a lot throughout the year. Just Rocco, a lot of pressure on him. Like I say, now Higgins and Noel both gone. Both have good draft stock. Now you got to reload. Like I say, but Freuler gone. Some players hit the portal. Like I say, rebuilding next year, but I trust Matt Campbell to do it because the foundations are there right now. So yeah, it was just a stroll too far for them. But yeah, good game against two really good sides.
Yeah, I figure them to do. I mean, they've been decimated. I think their top seven linebackers have all been hit by injury this year. Like that's a lot, even for a college program. Like to have guys, you got a lot of young guys in there. It's a young team anyhow, relatively in the grand scheme of things, as you say. They always find a way to replace their talent. Hopefully Rocco stays, but if his dad gets a job, especially nearby with
Yeah, well, I've
another
seen, like
in
you say, his
rival
dad is
team,
definitely going to leave the Battle Hawks, it thinks. I think he
his
has had an interview lined up with West Virginia.
if his dad ends up at West Virginia, it would not surprise me if son went to join him.
It,
I would love
but
that. I
that would
love
feel such a sideways move.
it would. It would. But I guess if you've got an opportunity to play for your dad, you want to go and take it. But I guess if there's one coach that can keep him, it'd be Matt Campbell. He looks damn good there. And credit to him, he came back in 2 plays later after taking that hit. Despite the fact that they were down by 1 billion and that he'd just been absolutely smoked, he still went back into that game. He's got the right attitude about him. So, valiantly fought by them for Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham. Give him coach of the year. You tell me another coach who's maybe except Kurt Signay who has
Bearing in
turned the
mind, like I say,
program
it was a
round.
3-9 program with
Yeah,
hardly any players as well. Like I say, it's
coming out of a toxic culture
yeah.
and bad press, moving conferences, and he's turned them into champions in 1 season, in the conference and in 3 years as a coach. Like no one's done a better job than him maybe over the last
I've
three
seen, like I
years.
say, a lot of the top receivers in the portal, they're all getting offers from Arizona State, and a lot of them are gonna go and want to play for Marcus Arroyo. I think they're gonna do really well getting some big names in the portal now.
Like I say all the running backs will want to go there as well, because just running back after
Yeah,
running
like you
back
say,
gets drafted from
Rashad
Arizona
White,
State.
you had Xavier Valade, Cam Scatterbo. That's three running backs transfer in, have 1,000-yard years, all went on to play in the NFL.
Yeah. Or Scat
Just
will
a
do.
just a conveyor belt.
Scat will do. Exactly. They've
Yep.
just got the system to play it.
I've seen
So
people go,
go
like
to
say,
Tempe.
second, third round. Like
Yeah.
you say, he's going to be playing on Sundays.
He's dual threat. They've shown he can be a dual threat as well, which just gives everything to him. So we'll wait and see where Scatman goes, but it's going to be high, that is for sure. Next up we'll go. We've done the Big 12. Let's go to the Big 10, and a game that only had an 8 point margin, but it didn't play like an 8 point margin. Oregon versus Penn State. Oregon winning 45-37, in which was a high scoring affair. Penn State 560 yards of offense. Oregon had 500. Penn State ran for nearly 300 yards, which was absolutely crazy in this one. They had 100-yard rushing performances from Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. Juella had 3 touchdowns, although he threw 2 interceptions as well. Dylan Gabriel, what a day for him. 22 of 32, 281 yards, 4 touchdowns. No turnovers for him. He did have a fumble, but he didn't lose it. Jordan James and Noah Whittington both ground out in the ground game, 80 yards apiece, going at 5 yards a carry, a couple of touchdowns for Jordan James. But this was one where they were trading earlier on. Yeah, Oregon scored first. They got the touchdown. Penn State responded with a field goal. Another touchdown for Oregon. Penn State got back into it with a touchdown of their own. Singleton had a receiving touchdown as well on the day. He had 43 yards as a receiver as well, so 150-yard day for him. But then Oregon scored twice in 3 minutes on the back of one of the turnovers. And before you know it, it was 28-10. And Penn State were just never really able to recover. They did get the next 2 touchdowns to get it to 28-24. But Oregon then just went and they got a field goal just before halftime. It was 31-24 at the half. Absolute mad fest this was in the first quarter, in the first half. Oregon get the first score of the second half. Dylan Gabriel to Tez Johnson. It was a 50-yard bomb, 14-point lead. They just kept trading scores, but Penn State could never catch them up, and this feels justified. Oregon were the best team in the Big Ten this year by a long stretch of the imagination, and it's been built off this offense, which can just score so many points. But the defense has followed it up with turnovers all year. They've always got the critical turnovers when it mattered. They did in this game, right? And like I say, even though it was an 8-point game, it was mainly because Penn State scored last and, tried the onside kick, couldn't get it. But they never really felt in danger in this. They led for most of the game, and you always felt that Penn State just couldn't stop them on defense and they were going to score, and they did. And Oregon, at the first time of asking, a Big Ten champs and the number one seed going into the playoffs.
Yeah, this was the game really that solidified Gabriel as a Heisman finalist because yeah, he had the Midas touch. Everything was gold. Like you say, everything was where it needed to be, on time, on place. Like I say, not under, not overthrown. This year he's just shown so much poise, so much just touch on the throws. He doesn't have the biggest arm, but he doesn't need to. He's just deadly accurate when he needs to be. And he's a guy that has maximized the most of staying in college as long as he can. It just feels like every year he's got better and probably looked more pro ready. I think he's a fascinating draft quarterback to me. He just gives me Bo Nix vibes. A guy that's maximized all of his eligibility, looks deadly accurate. I don't know. I could see Dylan Gabriel having an NFL career. Like you say, he just looks every bit of the polished quarterback you want. Flip side, Drew Aller, like I say, young, brash, big explosive players, but then what cost him in his game? Turnovers. The only two turnovers a game, throws he'd want back. The run game was doing heavy sledding. Like I say, they were really putting the Oregon defense to the test, and they were winning in the trenches. And drives would end because sloppily giving the ball away. And in the end, it would be what would be the death of them in a wildly, hotly contested game. Like I say, it was a good contest. Both sides showed flashes of star player on offensive side of the ball, made defensive players. It feels like a game where ultimately it'll go on James Franklin's record, but I don't think he coached a bad game. He put them in positions to win a lot of the time, and like I say, in the end, Oregon were just too polished and made less mistakes. I suppose Aller
Yeah.
will learn from that. Aller is running out of time to learn from these mistakes because he's not that kid anymore, is he? He's now an older guy that needs to deliver. So, yeah, Oregon were firmly tested and showed why they were the number one team in the nation.
And you've got to, you're right about the turnovers. The turnover look in this game was 8 points in favor of Oregon. The victory margin was 8 points. Like that 8 point swing, and just you don't throw that pick, they don't get two touchdowns in a row. That could be you hitting a walk off and winning this thing. So, game of fine margins. Penn State now have to do something in the playoffs. I know I've given Franklin two chances this year now, first against Ohio State, now here against Oregon. He can redeem himself if they take a big scalp in the playoffs and they get far, but they've got them and they've got the easy bracket. So, in theory, they've got the easy bracket. So, they should win the first two games. They should get through to the semis. That's all I'm saying. And if they don't, I think he's going to be in a lot of bother if he loses one of these next two games. But we'll talk about the playoffs in a moment. But Oregon, yeah, I don't. What's changed with them for you? Because remember Bo Nix? Like Bo Nix, they were one of the most explosive offenses in the country, scored points for days. Kind of just what Dylan Gabriel's done. I think it's the defense that's kind of done it this year. That line is formidable. Maybe not so in this one, but it has been formidable for the most part. They've got takeaways. Is it the defense? Is it the coaching? It feels similar to what they've been in the past when they've always fallen short. Yet this year they've just been unstoppable.
Yeah, I do have to. It's got to go with the defense. Like I say, a lot of the times in the past, the offense just it hummed. under Nix. They had a run game as well. It's not like the emergence of Jordan James is out new. Like I say, they had DJ. I can't remember the former Oregon, but they had a really good running back before him. Like I say, the smaller guy, one number seven. Yeah, it's the defense is tightened up. Like I say, the defensive line getting more pressure. Their interior stouter. The backers, like I say, stacking the box a bit better. Just defensive back as well. Like I say, not necessarily making turnovers, but just coverage, giving up less explosive players. And in the end, yeah, just wearing teams out, just bending, not breaking. That's what you need. And in offense, like I say, that the offense can control time of possession. It can keep the defense off the field. Defense just always looks fresh. It's never gassed. It's never tired. It always just does enough. And they've kind of got, like I say, a nice harmony now on both sides of the ball. And also special teams, because Oregon's got one of the best kickers in the country, haven't they?
Yeah,
Uh,
Sappington.
Sappington, I love his name.
Atticus
Atticus
Sappington.
Sappington. That he
It's
sounds like a character from like
of Mice and Men.
An Oscar Wilde novel. But yeah,
Yeah, it
he's been
does.
great all year. All the
Mm,
phases are just in sync. I
mm.
mean, Oregon winning a national title doesn't seem as crazy as it does now, does it? They would have started the year.
No, and again, just the few times the offense has faltered, you think
And
that Ida,
coaching,
yeah,
best coach in football, Dan Lanning.
yeah, because there was that time he threw the Washington game. I can't remember what he did, but we were on this show and we were going absolutely crazy. He threw one of the Washington games with some really bizarre decisions. But like the few times they faltered on offense, 24 points against Idaho, they restricted them to 14. The Wisconsin game, they only scored 16 off the defense, restricted them to 13. So I think that's where they're at. But I don't want to play them. I don't fancy anybody against them at this point. They've been the best team all year, and just carry on doing what you're doing, and you will go. So we will see, but we will see them again very soon. In terms of the other couple we've got to go, so where will we go? Oh, let's go to the ACC first. In what was probably one of the funner games on paper, also quite close.
This did not
Clemson.
shock me at all, this result.
I think we both said SMU to win, but we wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if they ballsed it up.
Because they know what they're doing.
Um,
Clemson know what they're doing, don't they? They just
yeah,
know how to win
when you've
big
been to the
games.
dance, you've got the experience and you've just got that two-step done a little bit better than your opposition does. But Clemson 34, SMU 31, and this really showed in the first half of the game. SMU looked like a team in the headlights who had no idea what they were doing. They were making mistakes. Kevin Jennings threw one of the worst picks you will ever see in your life. He's just scrambling out to the perimeter and he throws it. He just throws it right downfield, doesn't see the player coming. He's more worried just trying to get it out of his hands, turns it over. There were fumbles on their side that they gave away as well. It was two turnovers from them that cost them early, but Clemson just got ahead. So Cade Klubnik had a couple of passing touchdowns. Bryant Vesco, Jake Briddingstool, the tight end extraordinaire, put them 14-0 up. SMU did get a touchdown back through Kevin Jennings. He had a 24-yard touchdown run, but the next two scores before the half were for Clemson. Klubnik to Bryant Wesco again, and then Nolan Hauser had a 44-yard field goal to put them 24-7 up. And at the half, you're kind of fearing for SMU. They just didn't look good whatsoever. But to give them credit, they came back out. They put up a hell of a fight. So they got the first score after just 4 minutes. Brashard Smith, who had been quiet to this point, had a passing touchdown from Kevin Jennings from 10 yards out. Clemson did get another touchdown just at the end of the third quarter. Jake Brinningstool had his second touchdown of the day. It was a really good catch from him as well. I know the Senior Bowl's really eyeing Brinningstool up for this year because I believe he is coming to the draft. So it's 31-14 going into the last quarter. But SMU with the mother of all comebacks. Kevin Jennings first a touchdown pass to Matthew Hibner from 20 yards out. Then Colin Rogers hits a 46-yard field goal to bring it within score. And then with 16 seconds left in the game, SMU are able to drive all the way down the field. Kevin Jennings finds Roderick Daniels Jr. from 4 yards out for a touchdown to mark the unlikeliest of comebacks. A 17-point deficit cleared in the fourth quarter, and there's 16 seconds left. And you're thinking, yeah, this one's probably gonna hit to overtime, but what do we know? Adam Randall on the kick return, 41-yard kick return to the Clemson 45, giving them about 6 or 7 seconds, and then Cade Klubnik with an absolute killer pass to Antonio Williams for 17 yards in the blink of an eye, gets them down to the SMU 38. They take a timeout, and the freshman kicker, Nolan Hauser from 56 yards out, absolutely nails this thing down Broadway. It probably would have been good from 70 yards. It was that good, and the accuracy just pinpoint, and Clemson walk them off after having 16 seconds and one timeout to try and go and get this field goal, and they did. And absolute heartbreak for SMU, Ryan. It's their first year in the Power Four. They have succeeded every expectation in the country. Rhett Lashlee's done one of the best coaching jobs this year of anybody at all. And his team looked scared in the first half, which maybe given this is a massive stage they're not used to playing on, they brought back the mother of all comebacks. But like you say, when you're Clemson, when you've been there, when you've done that, when you've got players, high recruits, five-star recruits, whatever, who can just pull a play out their ass when they need to. They've been to the dance, they're experienced, and they managed to pull it out the bag. And you would say maybe overall they did deserve it, but it still doesn't make it any less heartbreaking after coming all the way back from 17 points down in a quarter.
No. It's one of those games where a key stat as well, Clemson, no penalties. SMU, 6 penalties, nearly 70 yards. That's, yeah, a combination of alien territory, rabbit in the headlights, and lack of discipline. You could tell Clemson, yep, they've been there, they've done it, they've worn the t-shirt, they've got the commemorative snow globe. These games just come natural to them. Dabo Swinney, the guy's a winner. And like I say, he recruits winners, and guys out here have won championships. They've got big game aspirations. They started quick. Like I say, they came out the block, like I say, running the ball. Like I say, well, didn't even the ball because like I say, Klubnik, like I say, has got really hot at the end of the year. And a guy a lot of people talk about here, but his best freshman in the country, Bryant Wesco Jr. What a year he's had leading that offense as a freshman. Like that's really impressive. And you got guys like say Bryn Stowell, big body guy that's able to box people out and be that kind of guy in the red zone. And then ultimately, situational awareness, like I say, whether you're trying to get the ball back yourself or if you're just trying to make it to overtime, you can't give up the big kick return. Like I say, you can't give up, you can't go into zone coverage in the middle and let him just fire a dart down the middle and get the guy down because you know they've got a timeout. And then when the crowd goes silent, like I say, who's got the biggest gonads on the pitch? Like I say, the freshman kicks in, drops it in the bucket, it clears the bar by about maximum a yard, like I say, and they walk off with the victory. And I wasn't surprised, but I was sad for the Mustangs. I still think Rich Lashley has to be, like I say, he's still in consideration one of the best coaches in football. He's taken a program into a very competitive difference that was already a winner. He still kept it a winner. And I loved at the end of the game where Dabo Swinney pointed to their sideline and says, they have to be in the playoffs because they pushed us so hard. They played so well. If we're there, they deserve to be there. He is a class act. And like I say, I want a rematch. Like I say, I want to see that happen again. Like I said,
Yeah.
but yeah, great year from both sides. And yeah, in the end, Clemson, they just know when to get hot. At the end of the year, last 4 or 5 games, Cade, Summit clicked. And yeah, like I said, they look like the old Tigers of the Trevor Lawrence days. And now, like I said, they're in the bracket. The winner of them could play ASU. Clemson are a dangerous team. People won't be saying it, but they are. There are guys out there that won't want to play the Tigers because
No.
big game mentality. The war of the mind can sometimes be bigger than what's on the football field, and they've got that in spades.
And they've been underrated, which makes them
Yeah,
even more
they feel
dangerous.
disrespected. Like you say, the
Yeah.
guys just thought no chance.
Yeah, like you say, they've got a free shot now because no one thought they were going to get to the playoffs, and this was the worst case scenario for the SEC because then you've got to potentially put two ACC teams in, which they did. So spot 12 is
Yeah,
gone
the
for one
SMU
of
pick, like I
them.
said, that's what upset the most people.
Yeah,
Them
but
and Nova.
I think they deserve it. You've got to look at like where they've come from and what they've done. Everyone just goes strength to strength, but they're a group of five team last year who have just been this close to winning a power conference in their first year. Like that's impressive. That's the mark of a good team. And you know, win your games if you can't otherwise. They've lost two all season, so you should be in. Ain't no three lost teams should be getting in, even if they win the conference championship game. So SMU, well done, well played. It was a tremendous game. And hopefully, like you say, one of these goes and makes some waves going forward. And then the last one we've got here, it's the SEC title game. And I mean, whew, this was, I mean, a lot went on in this, let's say, the Georgia Bulldogs at the Texas Longhorns. And I mean, what a roller coaster of emotions for Georgia fans. Texas, obviously, their first year in the SEC, they've completely, you know, they've completely blown away their expectations, maybe for what they thought they were going to do this year. Georgia have just not looked good for large chunks of the season, but like with Clemson, they've been there, they've done that. They've gone to the dance and they know what they're doing, which counts for a lot in these situations. It was, I dare say, one of the most ugly games out of all these. This was just not pretty at all. Like no points were scored early on. Both defenses were turning one another over, turning each other away. Texas started off two field goals. Brett Auburn, he had a good game, 41 and 42 yards there. Georgia, they got a field goal back. Peyton Woodring hit from 44 yards out, and it was 6-3 at the half. More like a baseball game more than anything. And then, of course, in the second half, you have the injury to Carson Beck, who wasn't having a good game before he was injured, but I believe the official prognosis now is his UCL, and he
Tommy
is
John,
in
yeah, the elbow.
danger. Yeah, and he is in danger
He's going to
of
miss the
missing
game,
the
I
Rose
think. I think he
Bowl.
might miss the whole playoffs potentially.
He's in danger of missing the Rose Bowl. So in comes Gunnar Stockton, who is a third-year redshirt sophomore who has played 6 games, all of them relief mop up efforts. He's never been in a pressure situation in his life and somehow is able to come in and spark this offense to life. Trevor Etienne has a 10-yard rushing touchdown to start the third quarter. Then they hit another field goal to go up 13-6. You go into the fourth quarter, Texas strike back. DeAndre Moore Jr., a recipient of a 41-yard touchdown pass from Quinn Ewers to level this thing up before the yeah, just in the fourth quarter. Then three field goals get traded. So with 4 minutes left, Georgia hit from 21 yards. As time is about to expire with 18 seconds left, Texas are able to save themselves with a field goal from 37 yards. Bert Oburn was working overtime in this one, and it goes to overtime at 16 apiece. Texas get the ball first, have the chance to really go for this, but they are restricted to just a field goal. Auburn again from 32 yards out for his fourth one of the day. Georgia, in response, though, come up with the clutchest drive of the game. They're able to get into a first and goal situation at the Texas 4. Trevor Etienne finishes the job. Georgia win the SEC. They get this valued seeding the bye in the playoffs, and Texas are now going to have to work their way through from the first round. But I mean, this was ugly, let's just say, Ryan. A lot of failed drives, a lot of stalled out drives. There were 9 sacks in this game, 27 tackles for loss between the two teams, 17 from Georgia, 10 from Texas, 9 sacks, 3 interceptions, 4 forced fumbles forced by Texas, and yet Georgia recovered every single one. Sometimes the luck is on your side in these little games, and luck favored Georgia, but Texas are going to kick the hell out of themselves. Beck down, injured, that team unable to score points and Ewers doesn't have his best game. He throws two picks. They're just not good enough. It's ugly, I think is the word to describe this.
I loved it. Best game of the whole weekend for me.
Sicko.
Right, I'm going to start by saying, is Quinn Ewers one of the most overrated players in the country? I
Oh
think he
no,
is.
you sound like Matt. I've defended you as a lot against Matt.
He
No,
was
no,
terrible.
he was. He was. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
He looks like a guy that is ready to lose his job. Like you say, the interceptions, both to Deshaun Everett, were both terrible. Don't get me wrong, like I say, good leap ball. Like I said, it just felt like I say, I look at the numbers and I just feel like, wow, did he padded them stats, didn't he? Like I say, in between the drives ending, it free, but like I say, in the red zone and when it got small and narrow, just disappeared. And like I say, minus 27 rushing yards. He offers absolutely nothing in the run game, does he? Never has done. Fair play, but like I say, he really struggles. The George defense absolutely smothered him. And they fooled him as well. How many times is it like they were going to drop pressure and they drop back into coverage? Batted balls. He really struggled to diagnose them. And there's serious talks about, say, Manny might get the playoff game. I don't know if Sarkisian will do that, but a lot of people want to give him the chance to win or lose. And then the other side, like say Beck, terrible injury. The final play of the first half, like you say, he's going for like the Hail Mary. And like I said, falls awkwardly on the elbow, but it's the other arm he hurts, isn't it? It's not the elbow he falls on, like you say, he goes to put his wrist out. There's talks, like say, if it's a UCL, which Brock Purdy did. Like say, if it needs a treatment, could miss the playoffs. And yeah, the stat line won't tell you this, but Gunnar Stockton out that second half, I was very impressed with a young man that has very little playing experience in the biggest game of his life. He moved the ball down the field. Like say, he was able to hit guys where he needed to. Like say, there weren't big players, but there weren't a lot of big players at all from the Georgia offense. Just small guys. Like I say, a lot of guys like ETM, Delps, the tight ends, because they love the Titans in Georgia. Kept the chains moving. Texas defense was absolutely relentless. The player where Gunnar Stockton is knocked out cold on a targeting call, he does not fumble, and I don't know how. And the worst bit is, how is he allowed to come back in the game? They
Yeah,
were literally ready to send him back in the next play, and you watch the video, the light, his eyes are glazed over. He doesn't know what month it is.
yeah,
Dreadful, but honestly, what a resilient, tough kid. And in the end, another game decided by special teams. Unfortunately, Auburn, well, by name, by nature, he had some of that tiger in him. Because, like I say, he missed two bad kicks. This game probably should not have gone to overtime. Games, kicks he'll want back. Because they weren't long, were they? He missed
no,
like a 37 and like a 42, like very makeable. He will probably be sick when he got out. But yeah, defenses in general, both D lines, linebackers, just not 10 miles a shot of each other. I loved it.
yeah.
And in
And
the
what?
end, I thought Texas should have give Georgia the ball first. I
Yeah,
think I would have sent my defense out first. They've been so dominant. If you get a stop,
see what you need.
you know what you need to do. I thought that was a mistake on their part, like say
Yeah,
sending out the offense first, and in the end it paid price. But yeah, I don't know. I look at the Texas team, I look at the draw, I look at the games. I just don't trust them. They are the
no.
most fraudulent team I've ever seen one right now in the bracket, I think.
See, what can't be underrated here, the big loss before the game is Kelvin Banks got ruled out, their star
Yep.
left tackle. That
Yep.
didn't help because you've got a new guy protecting you as his blind
Yep.
side.
Michael
And I
Williams
don't
just
think
absolutely destroyed the tackle that came in.
Yeah, I mean, this is serious tape for someone like Mikael Williams. I would love for us to take a look at him. I think he's great. On Texas' side, Andrew Makuba was fantastic.
Oh
I
God,
know we don't need a safety, but he had like 14 tackles
tackles for
on the
loss. The
day.
tackles on the
Yeah,
screen game. There's a screenplay where he comes down and it must be like at least 7 yards tackle for loss. He
yeah,
absolutely smacks the guy in the head.
yeah. That was the only target he got all day, and it was a completion for minus yards. He had a pass breakup. He had about 14 tackles.
Very
Again,
good tackle. Former
the
Clemson guy, innit?
yeah,
Yeah,
Makuba,
he
he
can
like
tackle that guy.
he was on our watch lists about 2 years ago. Like he was, I think he had injuries, but he went there, and my God, I know we don't really need a safety in the draft, but still, if
Be
he's
interesting
knocking
against, like I
around.
say, Tigers, Longhorns, Mukaba going up against his former teammates. That's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, but like Makuba was absolutely fantastic in this one. Like the secondary was really it held up well for Texas in this. So
Yeah.
they
Martha
just
got a sack, their safety. Their safeties, God, they were good.
yeah. I tell you who played well in this as well. The five-star freshman KJ Bolden had a
Yeah.
fantastic game as well. It's like not heard as much about him this year, but he's true freshman working his way in. I thought he had a fantastic game, especially against Ewers and the likes. Like they've got some good targets. So like defensively, this was a really good show. Jalen Walker had another 5 pressures for Georgia. He's been crazy. Mikael Williams had 6 from his defensive. Is he a linebacker? Is he an edge? I don't. I think he's one of those
Feels like a back, I don't know.
hybridy guys, doesn't he? But I put him on the edge as well. Like you say, fantastic defensive game, but it was ugly outside of that. But Georgia get the win there, and those are your 9 new conference champions. And to say there were a lot of blowouts in there, but there was a lot of good football played, a lot of statement performances, and well done to all those 9 teams who were able to get across. And commiserations to the 9 runners-up. Hopefully, maybe next year will be the one. And on the back of this, we have the 12 teams for the playoffs now. And I need to very quickly get the bracket up so I can remind myself. But as me and Ryan mentioned at the start of the show, we didn't really have any such problems with this one. So the rankings from 1 to 12. Oregon got the 1 seed. Georgia got the 2 seed. Boise State, the group of 5 team, got the 3 seed. Arizona State got the 4 seed. They are the 4 teams who get buys for the second round. And then you got Texas at the 5 seed, Penn State at the 6 seed, Notre Dame at the 7 seed, Ohio State at the 8 seed, Tennessee at 9, Indiana at 10, SMU at 11, Clemson at 12. And, just quickly go on this again. Right decision, right teams. You've got no issues with this at all.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I was never high on Indiana to get Indiana getting in, but if Indiana making it meant Alabama didn't get in, then I'm absolutely all for that. That has boiled the piss of a nation, and I absolutely love it.
Who was your first team out, by the way? Who would you have had if not? Who's the first team who missed for you? Was it Miami? Was it Alabama? Was it South Carolina? Who would you have put in at 12 if Clemson hadn't have got it?
Uh, Probably the Crimson Tide.
Ooh. See, on the back of this, they're already talking because I thought they'd already made the executive decision to go to a 16-team playoff, but apparently they haven't. They're talking about making it 14 teams now. So if Alabama miss a 14-team playoff,
How does
then
that? How could that work?
so it's just the top 2 seeds get a bye. Everyone else
So,
has to
yeah,
play.
you got to get rid of the buys then, aren't you?
2 teams, you get 2 buys, like the
So
NFL
one and
does.
two, and then three will play
It's like the wild
maybe,
card
yeah.
with the
Three
NFL.
might play 13, four might play 14. Something
Yeah.
like that. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Be similar to the wild card in the NFL. Oh, in fact, yeah, there's no buys. It's just you're seeded at home. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how you would do that. But anywho, I digress. Bama fans are livid. We're all loving it. So the bracket works out. So for the first round, and it's not, we'll talk about the previews for the games more next week. So games are not till a week on Saturday, my birthday. So
Let's see.
on my
I've already picked my winners. I've
yeah,
already decided what's happening.
yeah, there's one game on the 20th, but most of these take place on my birthday on the 21st. So I've got the day off work. I'm going out for a meal, then I'm coming home and I'm sitting and I'm watching playoff football all day. That's my birthday sorted. That's what I'm going to be doing. But the bracket works out. Number 8 Ohio State at home to number 9 Tennessee. Texas number 5 at home to Clemson at number 12. Penn State number 6 at home to the SMU Mustangs number 11, and Notre Dame at home to the Indiana Hoosiers number 10, in which I believe is an in-state rivalry.
Oh,
So,
sorry to interrupt.
um,
Rocco Becht has confirmed he's returning, despite SEC teams in his DMs.
oh really?
Yep.
Good.
They're tapping him up, but he said no, he's coming back.
That just makes me love him even more. Thank you, Rocco, for restoring my faith in the post-NIL world here. Rocco Becht is staying at Iowa State. They are going to win the Big 12 next year. Bookmark it. Anywho, back to this. So initial thoughts, right? You've said you've already picked your winners for this, but oh, this is a tasty one. So the first one is number 8 Ohio State against number 9 Tennessee at the Shoe for the right to go play the Oregon Ducks. So we might get a rematch in there, but this is tasty, right? Ryan Day versus Josh Hoople. Like this, Ryan Day has to win this game for me if he wants to have a job at Ohio State next year. And I, I, this is strange. I look at this and I'm like, this is a weird matchup for me to consider because you don't really get matchups like this in the season of the 10. Like you've got Tennessee, Eyama Lievu looks good. You've got Dylan Sampson at running back, who is great. This Tennessee defense is nasty, but so is Ohio State. They kind of feel like two similar-ish teams, but this feels like it's maybe the closest of them. I'd say this will be the most competitive of these four games. What are your initial thoughts about Ohio State and Tennessee?
Yeah, on paper, very similar. They've both got quarterbacks that I don't necessarily trust at times. They've both got a run game that can dominate. They've both got some high-profile receivers. They've also both got a coach that desperately needs to win. Like I say, won't Hyperwolf's seat will get warmer. Ryan Day, if he loses, I firmly expect him to be fired. But like I said, then they've both got defensive lines that can absolutely maul. So for me, it's which offensive line is going to hold up the best. The offensive line that holds up the best and gives their quarterback most time to operate should win the game. I agree, yeah. This should be, may not be the closest goal, but it will be the most competitive. I think if you put a poll to 1,000 people, they'd struggle to pick the winner of this game the most.
Yeah, you
I
feel
felt
like kind
much
of
more
home.
comfortable picking the winners of the other games.
You feel like home advantage at would State Foster. I mean, obviously we'll preview it next week and do it then. But who's your gut feeling going with for this? Who would you say? Who would you feel fancy more?
I like Tennessee. I like Dylan Sampson.
I do, and it
I've just
for.
not been enamored with
Hmm.
Will Howard.
See, for me, this comes down to the D lines. Like you've got Ohio State's great D line there, but then you've got James Pierce on the other side, who's he's had a quiet season by his standards in his sophomore year, but this feels like the one where he could reintroduce himself as potential because people were talking about him as the first overall pick in a draft, and that's how good
Yeah,
he can be. Sorry, he's
that's
a junior
cold,
this
but like I
year.
say, he needs to remind
It's
people, doesn't he?
yeah. So for me, it's which of their starts because Ohio State's D line did not come to play the other day when they played in the they played and they lost the other week against Michigan. They just did nothing. So that's where I'm at. I think it's very close. I would like to say Tennessee, but I just feel like Ohio State are gonna nick something out of there. But I may change my opinion for next week. But as I say, yeah, the winner of that goes on to play Oregon, and that's going to be tasty either way. Like there's going to be a lot of points scored, whoever
I'd
meets
rather
in
see Oregon,
those.
Tennessee than Oregon,
I
Ohio
would
State.
rather see Oregon, Tennessee as well. We will see. Now, one that has personal interests for you because the result of this influences who you play first
I've
up. We've
already
got
called
number
it. I called this in the
five.
Discord already when I saw the matchup.
You've got number five Texas at number 12 Clemson. First question, who do you want to face? And the second question, who do you think you'll face?
I want to face Texas because I think they're frauds. I will face Clemson because Clemson is going to cause a huge upset.
Ooh.
Tigers are beating Houston. I've no doubt in my
Oh,
mind.
oh, wow. I don't. See, I still have
For me,
belief in
for,
this.
for Arizona State, I think this is a great draw. If I'm honest, whoever comes in. Our secondary
Yeah,
against a shaky Quinn Ewers.
or against Klubnik, who can turn
Yeah.
it over.
Yeah. Like I say, our offense that can go up against the Clemson. We just saw SMU score a ton of points on the Clemson defense. We could do that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd fancy you against either one. I think I would prefer you play Clemson. I'm not sure whether Clemson. See, I am a Quinn Ewers fan, and I want Quinn Ewers to do well, and ergo, I want Texas to do well as well. I will leave my decision on this, but I'm leaning towards Texas, but it's kind of how I'm leaning towards Tennessee. I'm not certain at all, but yeah, Texas Clemson could be a great
I've
one
got
as
a feeling
well.
we'll see Ewers and Manning play,
Yeah,
and I
I
feel
think
like that
they'll
will be their
rotate.
downfall.
Yeah, they might rotate it in a little bit. Yeah, let's see who they announce at quarterback first, and then I'll make my decision on it. And then we've got all the big guns in there. Then we've got the wild card side of the draw, really. So Penn State. I don't know how they've done it, the lucky so-and-sos, but out of all the Big Ten teams, they've got the easy side of the draw. So Penn State are at home to the SMU Mustangs. The winner goes on to face Boise State. So potentially, Penn State have got a group of five team and a team who were a group of five team last year. But SMU, this is basically a free shot for them right now. They've not got the championship. They can go in this, throw everything they've got at Penn State. They're doing the noon whiteout. Woo! I don't know. Are you sniffing an upset here, or do you think that Penn State will win this one, and then the Boise one is where the banana skin is?
See, what's funny is this is people's biggest complaint about the bracket. How do Oregon win the championship and get the hard path? Penn State lose the championship and get what on paper easy route to a national title. That's why everyone said the automatic bids are bullshit. And on paper, you get the case, don't you? You look at
Yeah.
Penn State have like say fallen into like say somehow like say a barrel of thumbs and coming out sucking a tit. They've come really well out of this, haven't they? Now,
Yeah.
no. So I'm going to say SMU is a bigger threat to Penn State than Boise State is.
Okay.
I
It's
genuinely think against a big Power 4 defense, I think Madsen might be in trouble. I think someone will slide on Johnny. See,
if
I've
I'm
seen
S
SMU score points, but I don't think they'll be able to finish. I think
uh
they will get stage fright like they did against Clemson.
it's how do you hold up against
Yeah.
Abdul Carter, right? Like
Yeah.
if you
But
can
Penn
keep
State,
him
like I say, Penn
quiet.
State have got their flaws. Like I say, they could let them in. Like so we saw Al as well can turn the ball over. SMU has got no problem taking that ball away.
Oh, not
It's
at
how
all.
generous is Drew gonna be?
Yeah, and it feels like because that Oregon offensive line gave Dylan Gabriel time to work. That's why they put 45 up on him. Can the SMU offensive line give Jennings enough time to work? 'Cause if they can, I think Penn State are in a lot of trouble. Like for me, SMU, there's no need for stage fright now. The whiteout is hardly intimidating. This Penn State are just they buckle every time they play a big game. They've not earned the right to be looked at as this daunting, fearful figure. You've got, I'd go there and say, we're quite capable of beating you. Whether they will is another, question
I
altogether.
think Penn
But
State win a shootout.
I think so as well. Like it wouldn't surprise me if it was like similar score to Clemson and SMU, like where they win by a field goal or something like that, and they both score in the 30s, and it's really close. But I think it could low-key be the one that entertains everybody. Just how SMU start. If they start like they did against Clemson again, then Penn State will eat them alive. That pass rush will just kill them. So
And in this
please,
half of the
do
draw as
better.
well, like I know they've earned the right to be there, but Boise State, uh, they have got the weight of the Power Four on their shoulders. If they go out there and they play like crap and get rolled over, it's not going to look good, is it? For future, like I say,
No.
they're under no pressure and they're also under the most pressure because they will come under a lot of scrutiny if they go out there. Let's say Penn State roll over them like 45-10, and then that
Yeah.
just leaves a bad taste in the mouth of the committee, and then next thing you know, like, oh. we can't put anyone from the Mountain West in. Like I said, they blacklist them. They're playing for the
Yeah. Or
whole of
they
the Power Four, G4 almost, aren't they?
or they don't seed them that high. Because remember, we thought that
Yeah.
the idea of a group of five of the champion getting seeded, like in the top four, was impossible. But they've succeeded the Big 12
Yeah.
this year. So, not the Big 12. Who's been left out? The ACC, hasn't it? ACC's been left out. But
Yeah.
obviously, they've got a three-loss champion. So,
Yeah. So it's going to be a case of they're playing for the future rights of all
mm,
G5 teams to not be ranked outside top
but
five.
they've got Penn State at home. That place is a fortress. Like Barry Odom said it after they played them in the championship game, UNLV. Like you can't win there. It's such an intimidating atmosphere. The blue field, the home crowd, Ashton Giante running down your throat all the time. I think it's going to be incredibly tough. I think this is a tough route through for Penn State. I just think there's two teams who have nothing to lose, who are just going to throw the kitchen sink against them, and can they withstand it? So we'll see.
It's
But
going to be
SMU
interesting.
are on upset alert. And then in the final one, I think this is also critical for, teams on the periphery in the future. You got Notre Dame at home in South Bend against the Indiana Hoosiers, and a lot of people complaining about Indiana being in there because of their strength of schedule, etc. They've got to go in and put a good performance down now, right? Like that Ohio State game was that showed the gulf between them. They weren't able to run the ball, which, I mean, against this Notre Dame defense is you've got to run the football or you're in a lot of bother. But this feels like a really tough test for Indiana. This feels like the most foregone conclusion game because Indiana, although I don't know. What do you reckon? Is there more chance of Indiana beating Notre Dame or SMU beating Penn State? I don't, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Like as you say, Indiana has now got the problem where the committee's shown a lot of faith in them. They could have
And
very
you,
easily left them out
and you've
and
got
opened
to
themselves to
be,
criticism. And now they've
yeah,
got to go out there and they've got to justify their selection after,
yeah.
like you say, a golfing class against the Buckeyes. And now they come up against a Notre Dame team that
Who look good.
Bear has scored 40, 50 points pretty heavily in recent weeks. Like I say, Reynolds, the run game, the defense, like I said, they just look really well. Marcus Freeman started the year in a pretty hot seat for me. Like I say, it's cooled drastically. I like to say, for me, Notre Dame is probably one of the teams to watch in the playoffs because, like I say, not playing in a conference, not a lot of pressure on them. And they can go out there and take a scalp. Like I say, Indiana have got the good feeling like, oh, Signetti's brought us to here. Like, we've done our bit. Whatever happens here from now on, we're happy. No, don't settle for that. Don't just go out there and like, oh, we played well. We might come back in future. Play this game like it's the last game you'll ever play in the playoffs. I just feel like Indiana, I don't know. They might be too set in their ways. They might be too happy with what they've got and they might settle. And if that's the case, the Fighting Irish might stomp you.
See, this is where I hold out hope for Indiana. Their defensive line is fierce. Like, you have got two terrific nose tackles in there. You've got a pair of great rushers off the edge. Your linebacking core is pretty good. You've got to keep Jeremiah Love and Co. in tap because you can't make the game easy for Riley Leonard. Otherwise, he's going to absolutely obliterate you. And that's what they've been
This
doing
feels like one of those
recently.
games where it could be super close, or this could have the biggest margin of all of them. If
Yeah.
ND, if they unravel the Hoosiers, it could get ugly.
Yeah, Notre Dame's speciality is getting up early. They did it against both the service teams. They got up two scores
Yeah.
early, put them to
Turnovers as
bed,
well. They
and
got what nine?
turnovers.
What was it? Nine collective turnovers against Army and
Yeah,
Navy.
yeah. You've got to
Xavier Watts, guys like that. Big
Justice
stage
Ellison's
for
got to
them.
run the ball well. He got two touchdowns against Ohio State, so he can do it.
No
Rourke's
interceptions.
Rourke's passing figures were awful. They were like 8 throws for 20 yards or something like that. Like you've got to hit some shots deep. You've got to hold up in pass pro. But I think they can hold the run game in check, which will be crucial. And I do think they have the guys here. So it's that Indiana D line needs to have the game of its life. If it can,
Yeah.
I'm not saying they can win. I'm saying they can be competitive enough that
They've
the
got to attack the
committee,
secondary.
yeah, I think they will be competitive enough that the committee will go, we made the right decision. Because yeah, you could just have Alabama playing Notre Dame in this game and be like, oh yeah, it's going to be good for ratings and that. I don't want that. I don't want them just putting in like Jim Nagy the other day. Love him, great that, but he's there going, oh well, Ole Miss, Alabama have got all this NFL talent. They should be in the playoffs. Incorrect. One of the worst takes he's ever had ever about anything, and I respect him a lot and his scouting and that. But you can't just put teams in because of the amount of NFL talent you've got. You've got to put the deserving teams in there, and the deserving teams have to show. So we'll see. Indiana Notre Dame local rivalry, and their result, their prize for this is number two Georgia, who are
But if it's
walking
gonna
wounded, right?
Stockton, like
Who are
it's
walking wounded. This
yeah.
is, and again, this sounds stupid, but
Even
even
if
if it,
Carson Beck's healthy, he's not. He's
it
been bad.
yeah, and this sounds stupid, but even if it's Indiana who make it, I'd fancy that D line to tee off on young Gunnar Stockton and make some problems for him and give them a game. Hell, Notre Dame will give them a game. I'd probably fancy Notre Dame as a road team against Georgia right now. Don't know about you, but if this was it, if he wasn't playing, I'd outright pick Notre Dame to win that game.
Oh, Georgia's
So
in a world of trouble. They might have the worst QB situation right now in the playoffs.
exactly.
Do you risk Carson Beck that has only got one arm, or do you
Hmm.
go with Gunnar Stockton that, like you say, also coming off a head injury, has got no, like you say, has only played fourth quarters and drives that games have already won? Like I said, or do you go with the third option that's probably a freshman? Like what do you do? It
Jaden
feels
Rashada.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
Jaden
It
Rashada who's the
it
freshman.
feels like whether he's hurt or not, it feels like you've got to go with Beck. Even at like
Hmm.
60, 70%, I think Beck plays the game. But then, yeah, then like you say, your risk is long-term health. Like you said, if you're an opposing team, Georgia defense, yeah, it sends shivers down your spine. But their offense, it doesn't.
Could you imagine a semi-final of Boise State versus Indiana? You could realistically get that in
I
your
mean,
first
yeah,
year of
for
the
the
college
neutral,
playoffs.
great. I imagine it would probably send the college world into a meltdown and everyone would hate it.
Yeah, Oregon would feel like they'd have a bit of a cheat code to get in just all the way. Then they're in the hard one. Like
Yeah.
Oregon would just need to get to the semis, and
I
then
think that this is why the automatic bids won't be around long,
yeah,
will
I
they?
I agree with that. I think it's good they've tried it, but I think as long as the conference champions are in, but if they're seeded ninth, 10th, 11th, fine. If that's how strong they are,
Yeah, the bids are going
that's
to go.
fine.
The bids might
Yeah.
go as early as next year.
Yeah, I think, but again, that's all part of the process, right? I think it was good to try it for a year, but I think that will go. But don't put more teams in. That's just going to dilute it down. This feels special this year because SMU are in, Indiana are in. Like, give them teams the opportunity to see what they can do first. If they don't do well, opening it up to 14 teams, they're just going to put seven SEC teams in. That's all they want. They want Ole Miss in this. They want Bama in this. They want South Carolina in this. That's all they're looking for. And I think it would just, you might get some more competitive games, but it'd just be boring having them all in all the time. So we'll see. But that is your playoffs. So we're going to properly review these, preview them next week because we'll have no games to review. So we'll need to spread it out a little bit and we'll give our official predictions then. But really looking forward to it. And as I say, I've got a birthday full of football to watch. So that is going to be fun indeed. Just clocking up on the 2 hour mark now. So we were just going to have a little look through the head coach carousel and the transfer portal as to, I mean, the portal's crazy. People going in there all the time, but are there any names so far that have gone into the portal who you are surprised by, who you're excited for, who you're wondering where they're going? 'Cause I mean, there's been some big names going in very quickly, and some might wait till after the playoffs are over. Some of the bigger teams might wait a little bit, but I mean, it's active. 5,300 players in the portal across all formats, I believe Gerald tweeted the other day. But who are the names you're interested in looking at?
Yeah, there's quite a few. So the big name that I've seen has already got apparently like 43 offers.
Eric
You got
Rivers,
Eric Rivers. You got the FIU standout wide receiver that has got basically most of the FBS that want him. He's got lots of scheduled visits.
including Clemson.
Yep, Clemson. Like I say, we've seen a big commit today. Darian Mensah, the Tulane quarterback, has gone to Duke. Malik Murphy entered the portal a few days. To fair, Murphy set, I think, that their single season passing touchdown record. Big shoes to fill, coming off a 9-3 year where the Blue Devils come back. That's a very interesting move. And like I say, a lot of people think he's got a lot of upside, Dorian. Very young though, not a lot of experience behind him. Going into a big job there, so that's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out. Yeah, like I say, a lot of guys, a lot of star receivers. I saw Felipe Mendoza today. No, Mendoza, the Cal quarterback. A lot of them think he's very interesting. He should get a lot of offers. Yeah, like I say, a lot of guys. Arizona today, their entire secondary has just somehow entered the portal. Like I
Oh
say,
Christ, what's his name? Takario Davis is in the
Tacario Davis, who I
portal.
thought would go to the draft.
There's a lot of draft eligible guys going back
Yep.
now, especially D tackles, I want to say, who are going back to
Yeah,
school.
Tacario Davis, like you say, he's entering the portal. He's going to get SEC, Big Ten, 6'4", 200-pound corner, like say, 22 passes defending in 2 years.
Hmm.
If he wants to stay in the state, like say, go to Tempe.
Go to Arizona
Like,
State. You must
yeah,
imagine they put a call in.
you'd think so, yeah. Like you say, you'll test his reserve, see how much of a traitor he is. I did notice one news, so like a really big sophomore corner for Arizona State entered the portal. I just read though the day before it's because he was dismissed for stealing a teammate's watch and trying to pawn it at a pawn shop, and he reported it and he got arrested. So LT Welch.
Oh God.
Yeah, he was dismissed and yesterday he entered the portal and actually he's been one of their best players this year.
Hmm.
3 interceptions, like I said, that's bad, but yeah. So yeah, but our player's going to get a lot of interest. But like I say, now you've got discipline, character issues. Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting. So Connor Weigman has got a crystal ball to Houston. Imagine
Oh,
leaving the
don't,
SEC to go
don't,
to the Houston Cougars.
don't.
That's hilarious.
I'm on record as saying he could have been a Heisman candidate,
Yeah.
so let's please not do
Got
that.
Van Buren, you've got loads of freshman quarterbacks
So,
entering the
how
portal.
odd is that? So, Michael Van Buren in the portal at Miss State, they've been Crystal Ball Jackson Arnold. Why would you get rid? And like Van Buren's had a good season there as a true freshman. He's had a good season playing there, and you're going after Jackson Arnold, who is also a freshman who has not had the best of times at Oklahoma. I mean, why get rid of your own guy for another guy who's just as young and probably less experienced? Because
Yep.
Van Buren played a full season. That just feels
Even less
odd.
experience.
That
And we
feels
saw
odd.
Arnold have one good game.
Mm.
He beat Georgia. But also, he didn't do it passing. He was rushing. So yeah, Arnold is such an unknown entity. What he can do long term through the air. Yep, really big gamble.
I feel like that's a downgrade for them there. Another very interesting naming, and I'm you love this guy, and I'm interested to see where you think he might go. Barry and Brown. He's in the
Yeah, and
portal from
Dane Key.
Kentucky.
Dane Key's visiting
And
Georgia.
Barry and Brown's getting high interest from SEC teams. Where do you think he'd do
He's a
well?
rebel. If I've
I
ever
knew
seen
you
an
were gonna
Ole
say
Miss
that.
rebel, Ole Miss look like I said. Trey Harris is going to the portal. I mean, he's going to draft. They need a returner. Dane Key and Barry and Brown will both get calls from Lane Kiffin. They need receivers. Like I say, they've got Jackson Dart, one of the more productive. Yeah, they will be all over one of them. I think they'll get at least one of them.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Kevin Conception, looks like he's coming to the SEC as well. He's not said who, but he's
Big
got
time.
two
That's a big time
visits.
pickup, though.
He's got two visits lined up. So that's gonna absolutely kill me there. Interesting quarterbacks now in the portal. So Thomas Castellanos getting linked with Florida State, who have just hired a certain offensive coordinator there, Gus Malzahn, who likes to use guys like him. He's a spread offense guy, but they've obviously ran sort of the power run game at UCF as well. That would be a match that I think we may have even called it when he went there, but that feels like a match that could happen. And maybe that would be a good place for Castellanos to go.
Yep. We've noticed a trend of players following their coaches because Devin Dampier, the Lobos,
Yeah, I want to see where he goes.
Utah have just taken the offensive coordinator and he's got a prediction to go to join the Utes.
Oh, I'd love to see him there, but they don't
I
play
think
his
that, yeah,
style of. He's a dual threat. They
yes.
like pocket passes.
Like I say, yeah, they have a pocket pass, like I say, Cam Rising. Like I say, because Isaac Wilson, like I say, he's entered the portal, and like I say, the freshman.
Yeah,
So
he's
it's going to be really interesting.
other quarterbacks who's in Caden Salter's in out of Liberty. I don't feel like he's going to get a big offer there. I mean, Miller Moss, is he going to have a future in the Power Four,
I
or is
mean,
he done?
I've seen a lot of Michigan fans say they like Miller Moss.
Oh,
He'd
really?
bring experience to the quarterback room that currently
After
do not have.
after the job they did on him this year? That's interesting. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Wide
Malik
receivers.
Murphy's in as well. What?
Yeah,
Where do you
yeah.
reckon? That seems odd that he's just had the 1 year. I
I'm
don't
very
feel like
surprised
he's been.
I'm surprised he's leaving Manny Diaz and Duke.
Where's he?
Had a stellar year.
Where do
Like I
you
say,
think? Where's he gonna go?
I
Like,
don't know. Big guy, dual threat. Like I say, I don't what who suits him more than what he's got.
I don't know. On the face of it, unless he's gonna go to Miami now that Ward's leaving and they've lost their commits there.
Yeah, if he can pick up the Hurricanes, I think that'd be a good fit for him.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's say receivers, like say Charlotte, star receiver, Omega Blake, big CJ Riley, CJ Daniels, the LSU receiver. He's going to visit Ole Miss, Georgia, Auburn, Miami, and Georgia Tech. So everyone wants him. The guy's been an absolute stud for the Tigers. But yeah, it feels like a very QB and a very heavy wide receiver Paul so far.
yeah, absolutely.
And then we've not even got to the side of the ball. Dylan Tyneman. A year ago,
Oh,
a star freshman safety, one of the freshman players of the year. Portal, like say, who you got to look at teams like that use multiple safeties, like teams that come to me straight away. Iowa, love a white defensive back. They know what to do with him as well. Like I
yeah.
say, Notre Dame, because Xavier Watts will be leaving soon. They've got stellar secondary. Like I say, Michigan. It
It's
feels like it feels like a kid that stays in the Big Ten.
if you put Caleb Downs and Dylan Tyneman together, they're both veteran sophomores, so they're literally both going into their junior
Yeah.
years now,
If he
right?
can
You
get
can have,
himself a right, well, he's got two reported yesterday on three. He's got two Big Ten visits booked in. Don't know who.
I
I
reckon one's
imagine
Ohio
Iowa.
State.
Yeah, I can see. I can see Wisconsin. They like their safeties.
Mm, potentially. I mean, I would say Rutgers. Rutgers have good safeties, but he's not going to Rutgers. Um, I'm really intrigued to see where he goes.
Yeah, I am. So like I
I,
say, he had a very down year, but
yeah.
the whole team did.
Oh,
They
I
were
think I
dreadful.
think that's a byproduct of your offense is no good. You're out there all the time. It's really difficult. Other names. Eric Singleton Jr.'s in from Georgia Tech, their star wide receiver. We know all about Georgia Tech playmakers because we got Jameer Gibbs on the team. But he had 1,000 yard year, so I think he's going to. I think Florida State are in for him, which they could probably do with a few guys this year as well.
Yeah, they need some receivers.
Where did you say Dane Key's got his one? Georgia.
Georgia, he's got to visit Georgia this weekend.
Yeah, say
To be fair, Georgia
Conception's
need
in
receivers,
there.
don't they? Because right now, I don't think they've got anyone. I think they've got like a junior, and then they're all freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah,
It's a
they've
very
lost a
wet
lot.
behind the ear room. They need a leader.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you say your favorite named guys in the portal. Fluff is in the portal. Might get to
Yeah.
go to a big team.
Like I say, yeah, had a
Looking for a good
stellar
running back.
freshman year as well, so
Yeah.
minimum 3 years eligibility, which the in the portal goes a long way.
Yeah. And if you find yourself a power program now, I mean, dare I say it, someone like your guys.
Yes,
Young guy,
need a running back.
yeah. He's run hard in the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
Like Sun Belt
So
running backs are good running backs.
Walker Howard is now a Louisiana Raging Cajun.
Hmm.
See, a former top 50 quarterback, but like I say, he's transferred out of every school he's been to and has never really started.
Yeah,
I don't know what to make of him. Is it a good move? Is it a bad move? I couldn't tell you.
no, I'm not sure either. One
Luke
of
has, you'll know Luke has the Arkansas tight end, won't you?
yeah, I do.
He's
Oh,
visiting
has he gone
Alabama.
in? Oh, damn it. Alabama nick a lot of good Arkansas talent. I've noticed that in recent years. They love a Razorback and they take them out of there. So
Yeah. I think a
um
lot of the big quarterbacks, I've seen the same name all the time, Louisville, because
yeah,
Tyler Shook is, well, he's out. The 6, 7 years are gone, and it's a passing offense.
yeah.
Louisville's got to be in the market for these big name quarterbacks.
Um and then linebackers, Amari Campbell's in the portal from UNC. He's one of the he might be the best linebacker in the ACC, or one of.
Yeah.
UNC well, interesting times for UNC. We'll come back onto that on the coaching carousel in a minute, but
Yeah. Arizona
yeah.
State have made an offer to Isaiah Hunter, the redshirt freshman Cal receiver, who's an absolute star. That's what I
Oh,
hope they do land.
that's the kind of guy you want to get in there. Brent goes, Wolverines grab an experienced quarterback to help solidify a really weak position. You
Yeah,
gotta feel they are going for one, don't you?
yeah. It's all right bringing in Bryce Underwood, but you need some veteran guys.
Oh, and they flipped Herb Street's son as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, like, why is he going there? Like, why are you going? Bryce Underwood is
Who's
going
he
to
planning to
play.
play behind exactly?
Yeah, he's is he going to be Bryce Underwood's study for his entire career? Because
Has
that's
he
what he's
done it
going
to
to
spite his
be.
dad?
They're not, well, yeah, but they're not going to pay Bryce Underwood 2.6 million a year to sit on the bench after his freshman year. Like
No.
he's going to play every
Whether he's good
snap.
or bad, he's
Yeah,
playing.
he's going to play every single snap that he can. So why Kirk Herbstreit's son has decided he wants to go there? Um, I don't know. Who else is in? I mean, we talked about this a little bit already, didn't we? As who they could get, but there are a lot of good options for them to go and take out there.
Yeah.
Like the Wolverines got good news. Their kicker's coming back. Zavada, I don't know how Zavada didn't win the Luke Groza this
I
year.
know. I
I know
also
they've
don't know
done the
why is he not
awards.
declaring for the draft.
I know this is a weak kicker
For
class,
weak kicker class, he's one of the best kickers in the country. You can't tell me he can earn more in NIL than NFL because that cat, he's a kicker. That's not happening.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
you will probably get good draft. You will probably get
Yeah.
good draft,
I'm looking at cheap 1 year quarterbacks for the Americans.
and you have to look as
Tyler Van
well.
Dyke, someone
You
like him could do Michigan.
so look at they've got a new offensive coordinator there as well, which you have to take. It's Chip Lindsey. So he's been at UNC for years, and what have UNC really bankrolled in pocket passes? Like Michigan, pocket. It kind of makes sense that they've gone for the pocket pass. You're looking for a pocket passer at Michigan. You don't really go for a dual threat guy per se, do you?
No.
Unless you're going to change that whole offensive scheme. So that rules out guys like Dampier, etc. I mean, phew, could they take a look at Malik Murphy? He's played on a tough Duke team.
Could
He's
do. 6'5", 235.
and JJ McCarthy was on the taller side, right? Like all the Michigan
Yeah,
quarterbacks this year have
they
been
like a tall
tiny.
quarterback. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's massive.
Like Cade was quite tall. Like Malik Murphy could fit the profile. He can run the ball a bit as well. Maybe, but you would figure they're going to you've got to get at least a 1 year guy. But then Jaden Davis is still there. He's going to be a sophomore. Why not give it to Jaden Davis instead and see? Because you invested heavy in him. He was your prize recruit last year. It seems weird that they're not going to give it because Bryce Underwood will play in the year after this. So he's got 1 year to.
See, so for me then, if you're looking for a guy with experience, Connor Weigman.
Oh,
And like I say,
ooh,
obviously injured, but like I say, if you're looking for an experienced guy for a year with
yeah,
upside,
potentially. I mean, that would fit the profile
and then like I
perfectly.
say, next year, like I say, when Bryce comes in,
Let
hit
him
the
go.
portal again, but with
Yeah,
actually a good season behind you. Because like I say, right now, not got a little work off because he played very little football this year.
no, Michigan will run the football enough that they don't put pressure on you to throw the ball a lot, so you can do that. I like that call. That's a good shout. I don't know whether he'd go all the way up north for that, but potentially.
So apparently Missouri, Louisville, they're one of the favourites for Weigman because, like I said, the Tyler Shook, the pocket passer.
Yeah, yeah, it can
Wisconsin,
get like that. I
Syracuse,
mean, Louisville would
Iowa.
strike
So it
me.
looks like he's going to the Big 12.
See, I'd fancy Van Buren to go to Louisville. He's the dual threat guy. You know, like they've been dual threat for years. Before Tyler Shook, they were just all dual threat quarterbacks, just again and again and again and again. I'd like to see Van Buren at Louisville, but I digress as well of that. Obviously, the portal is just going to go crazy. More players are going to go in. More stuff's
Cade
going to
McNamara
happen.
back to Michigan.
Oh God, I'd like give it up, kid. Why are you leaving Iowa? You've got a nice cushy job there. Kirk Ferentz is never going to ask you to do anything. You're always
Like
going
I
to
say,
have
he's
a running
applied for
back
the
door who
seventh
work
year and
for
got
you.
it, but
Who's going
there's
to have
nowhere
him?
really he can use it where it makes sense, is there?
Be brave and go to a group of four program, a group of
Yeah.
five program,
Or
and
go to the
have
FCS.
have a 5,000 yard season and get someone to take interest in you as a late round UDFA pick. Don't just sit on a roster
Spot
somewhere and do nothing.
SI think the Fighting Irish could go Notre Dame.
Another like they've got to stop using transfer portal quarterbacks eventually. They are bred on them. And it's just not good for them in the long term. Like, why can't Notre Dame attract a good quarterback prospect out of high school? They're a massive program. They're one of the biggest in the country. And yet they just never seem to be able to recruit and develop their own guys.
They
They're
must
just
have a
getting
lot of money
experienced
as well.
ones. Of course. Like, why couldn't they go in? Like, go get Jaden Davis or someone like that. Bring someone young in and give them the ball and build your future around them because they're not going to transfer away. If you're a starter for Notre Dame, providing you're not bad, they'll stay for their entire career. They've got no reason to go elsewhere. You think your loyalty would be there. But yeah, there's it's absolutely crazy at the minute. So we will keep an eye on the portal and whatever more happens there. And yeah, we'll keep you updated if there's any moves that are interesting. And if Michigan snag a quarterback, we will let you know. But I would fancy they're going to get a pocket passer if they do. I don't think there's going to be anyone unduly exciting in there. And then just to finish us off today, we're just going to take a look at the college football in terms of the head coaches and head coaches who are gone, head coaches who have been hired. Just have a little look because a lot has happened. And the very big story here, I don't know if it's been confirmed yet. It seems like it has, and then it isn't. Is he going to do it? Is he not? But UNC, fresh off 73-year-old Mac Brown, saying maybe they need someone young and innovative and who's not past his prime to go run the program there.
So who did they dig up?
Potentially 72-year-old Bill Belichick, one of the most famous head coaches and most successful head coaches of all time, throwing his hat into the ring there. And I'm not sure if this is true or not, or whether it's a joke, but a lot of people saying that his 24-year-old missus is a UNC alum
There's
or goes
quarterbacks
there.
in college older than his girlfriend.
Yeah. But Bill Belichick potentially going to UNC with his 500-page dossier on how to build a program, and he discussed it on Pat McAfee. He says he's going to run it like an NFL team
I
in
don't know.
terms of the nutrition.
I'm waiting to see if it's confirmed.
I
Is he
just
trying? Is he trying to
theoretically,
like leverage something with the NFL?
you never know. But let's just say in a hypothetical world, he has taken the job there. What is that the right thing from UNC? Given they're coming
No.
off one older coach. Will players respond to
Why the
his way of
kids don't want
coaching?
to talk to Bill Belichick?
Well,
He's
one,
so not a people person.
they'll chat to his missus, but not him.
Can you imagine, like, say, like a commitment dinner, and he turns up at your house to have dinner with you and your parents? It's like probably like when you've got to go visit your granddad in retirement home, and your mum makes you go when you don't want to because they smell like whatever's original and they babble rubbish. He's not very charismatic, is he? He's not very compassionate. Why
No.
do you want to come play for me? Like, do you even want to come or you don't? He's too blunt.
It kind of feels like he'd be like a Dabo, wouldn't he? Where it'd be like take it or leave it and deal with it.
This is not the right program at all. They should have gone on a, they should have taken a gamble on a 30-something-year-old coordinator.
Yeah, it's. I know
My only
it's.
thinking is for them, their defense has been broken for years. Can he fix their defense?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. That will be the first thing you've got to do.
Yeah.
Like you've had
But then
all
you get
those
the really
flashy.
worrying rumor that the contract states when he retires, Steve gets the job. People are backing
Yeah.
that up. Like say that the Washington Huskies DC, who don't get me wrong, apparently has not been good, and Washington fans aren't overly enamored with him. They don't get to choose his predecessor. It's outlined in a contract. That tells me as well. He's thinking short term. Don't do it. He's going to retire at end of season. He's going to step away.
Mhm.
He's not. His heart's not in it. He's telling you who's going to be the next head coach.
I mean, I can get it. Like if he was 10 years younger, you're at the end. You're at the end
I'm
of
going
your
to get a
NFL
couple of
career, and you
years out
want
of him.
to.
But
You.
how realistically, if Bill Belichick says after this year, I'm retiring, and
Yeah.
to do it all again, waste
I,
time, money.
yeah. Like I get it. Like you've given his game's given you so much. You want to. Do for these kids, the next generation. You want to train them up, send them on their way, give something back to the game. I get that, but it just feels too late now.
Yeah, I don't think any NFL teams want him. I don't think he's got any NFL interest whatsoever.
No. And you know what? Might be a hot take thing, but I actually quite like him as a pundit. I like listening to him talk. He explains the game really well. He goes through it all really well. I think that suits him now rather than coaching.
It
But
feels like he's trying to stay in the limelight too long. Like, call it. Do you know when a player don't know how to retire and they
yeah,
just play terrible for the last few years? That's going to be him, and that's sad.
yeah, absolutely. It is. It's
But no, I've no doubt. I expect within the next 24 to 48 hours, I bet this is made official.
yeah. Yeah,
I
we'll confirm
hope
it
it
next
worked
week,
out.
but
Not for them. I don't care about them. For him.
yeah,
It could
yeah.
blow up in his face drastically.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of other head coaching changes since we last talked about it, so Gus Malzahn is gone from UCF. He's gone to Florida State.
Scott Frost back again.
Um,
Bloody hell.
I know.
Did you see the
Oh
quote
well,
he said?
no.
Like, say it's come out, everyone said, like, he said something quote like, everyone's always told my whole life to keep climbing the ladder of success, but no one ever tells you to stop at the rung when you're happiest. And apparently that resonated with a lot of people. He was really good here at 2 years. And like I say, he clearly regrets leaving, and now he's come back. But how often do coaches go back and get that magic back? It's very rare, and it like I say, second spells usually never go well.
Yeah, it,
And he's not
it, it
exactly
does feel a
inheriting a great
little.
team, is he? His best players going in day two of the draft. I
Yeah,
can't see RJ
it's
Harvey not declaring if he's eligible. Like
no,
you've got to find
he'll
a new
go.
quarterback.
Yeah, he'll go. They'll all go. You've got to replace it from scratch. And it's a scheme change. He doesn't run the scheme that Gus Malzahn does. Like that's going to be a big culture shock there for them. It depends who he hires as his OC, but
I like him. I just feel like this doesn't end well.
no, it does not at all. Other coaches who have gone since we last talked about it. Ryan Walters gone from Purdue. Neil Brown's gone from West Virginia. Mike McIntyre's gone from Florida International. Casey Keeler gone from Sam Houston. Sean Clark gone from App State. Bronco Mendenhall has gone from New Mexico, but he's gone to Utah State. Charles Huff is down from Marshall. And Barry Odom. Oh, is Barry Odom gone? He's gone to Purdue. Oh, I should have remembered that. So yeah, UNLV are without a head coach now. I completely forgot that he'd gone there. So maybe Brennan Marion takes on that team himself. Maybe not. We will see. But he has completely turned them around. Tim Albin has gone from Ohio as well. And in terms of the guys in, I mean,
One of my favorite hires,
are we
Cal.
going to talk Tulsa? Oh,
Cal. They've got Brian Harsin, the long-time Boise State legend, as their offensive coordinator.
yeah. Oh,
I
I
love
love
that
that. That's a
hire.
great move.
Right, so he has got him. There's a coach that's already there that he had at Boise State as well, working together. And Cal offense, like I say, should be much better next year.
Yeah. Absolutely. We've got a new FCS coach up as well at Tulsa. Trey Lamb's come up from East Tennessee State. What do you make of
Yeah,
that hire?
that a lot of people said a lot of people were shocked by that. If I'm right, isn't this guy like 32?
He's young. He enters that sphere of youngest coach. Kenny Dillingham's soon falling out the top
Yeah.
five
He's
of
only like
youngest
33,
coaches.
34. Like I say, this guy's very inexperienced. But apparently, if I read somewhere, it was like a Gardner Webb,
He's taken Gardner Webb to two FCS
two FCS
playoffs,
playoffs.
and he's turned East Tennessee State completely around in his
Yeah.
time there. In his young career, he's already done two rebuild
I'm all for
jobs.
that. Taking a name nobody knows and rewarding them for their hard work.
Yeah,
I think that's a great decision.
yeah, he had absolutely. Brent says Sam Houston coach state gone. Yeah, Casey Keeler's gone. He has gone to. We talked about this the other week, didn't we? He's taken a new job. He's taken a sideways leap. Casey Keeler has. He's gone to Temple, which we weren't sure about.
Try to fix them owls.
Yeah, trying to
Right.
fix the Owls. I mean, you make the Owls a good American side, then the world may be your oyster in terms of jobs. I just don't. I don't see the logic behind that one at the moment. I'm not sure whether they have replaced him yet or not. They haven't, so we've got to
I didn't
wait and
realize this,
see.
but Bill Belichick's first job would be finding a new offensive coordinator because he's gone to
Uh,
Michigan.
yes,
Chip
Chip
Lindsey.
Lindsey. Yep, Chip Lindsey's there now, so that's a great hire from Michigan, and
If they want to
absolutely,
get back to running the football,
yeah. Well, yeah, you've got that, and then you've got as a you've got all those great running backs they've had there. The quarterback plays, but UNC offense has never been an issue
no.
ever. So he's had some potent offenses in the recent years. So top-notch hire by Michigan there. And then we're gonna finish off today. Ash asked us about the new coaching staff at Florida State because, of course, he
Oh,
would.
Matt
Sorry, go
Entz,
on.
Fresno State. They've hired the legendary North Dakota State coach, Matt Entz.
Oh, they did, didn't
That is
they?
one of my favorite hires. They've got a winner.
Yeah. No, I
He's only
agree with you
52, like
there.
I say. He will help them recruit so well. I love
Yeah.
that hire.
Because I don't get my geography. That's not too far apart in the world, is it, from where they are? I think it's quite Fresno to wherever North Dakota is. I think it's not too far. I mean, maybe. Maybe in the scheme of America, it's not too far, but it's massive compared to what we know. But yeah, I agree. That is a really good one there. So yeah, the new Florida State staff in just need to quickly go through that. So what do you make of the decision to hire Gus Malzahn there? Because obviously his offenses again, they have been potent for years, back to the Auburn days in the early 2010s when they won a natty. Wasn't a natty then, a BCS, whatever they called it. They won that. That was due to him. They got back there 2 years later under his head coach leadership. And you've seen with UCF, like the spread high tempo offense he runs there is very difficult to defend against. He just never got it right with his defense. But I guess going back into a coordinator position, this might be a good match for them. It seems schematically a big shift. They like to run the ball a lot, or they have done recently, maybe because the quarterbacks haven't been so good and not in as dynamic and expanded a way as Gus Malzahn likes to play. But I feel like it could be a good hire. I feel like this might be a fresh start for them with a new scheme.
Yeah. I like this. I like because, like I say, primarily he's a great offensive coach. Sometimes head coaches, well, anyone that hires Ben Johnson might be able to find out. Like I say the difference between a great offensive mind and a head coach sometimes can be vastly different. Like I say, we've seen some great Malzahn teams, but we usually see he starts off hot and then sometimes it falls away very quickly. Like I say, and he falls out of favour very quickly. At the end of let's say the Auburn, like I say, he goes 10-4, 8-5, 6-5. Like say with the Knights, 9-4, 9-5, 6-7, 4-8. It's the longer he's there, it feels like the less of effect he has. And I think going back to being a coordinator, we might see the best of him, especially at his age. Like say where think about his how he's going to finish out his career now, nearly 60. Going back to being like say a QB coach, offensive coordinator, or say assistant head coaches. He's worked with some of the best players in the nation. Like I say, and he's got guys there that if he's going with the current quarterbacks that are there right now, or if they're going to bring someone from the portal, he's going to have to. He's going to strip one of these guys down and try help rebuild them. They're very young, they're very inexperienced. If he's going to go with Brock Glenn, so giving them an experienced coach to kind of put an arm around him might be really good for him. But knowing him, he will probably be pushing for them to make a veteran addition as well at quarterback. It could be someone he's worked with before. He's worked with a lot of guys before. It could be someone that knows how to run the system. So short term, I reckon that would probably be pretty wise of them. But yeah, I don't mind the hire at all. He knows the landscape. He'll help bring in guys that portal guys. He's worked with a lot of guys that have hit the portal. He might be able to have a whisper in their ear and get them to come with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be a good one for them there. Brent just says, is Kurt's son still at Temple? No, he's in the portal again. He went to Rice and now he's in the portal again. So EJ Warner's going here, there, and everywhere right
Feels
now.
like he's FCS bound at this rate.
Yeah.
Like,
Mile Marker says it's half the country, Fresno to Endicott. So sorry, I got that wrong. Some of the Mountain West teams are located quite far north, so I sometimes get confused with that. And then on the flip side, they've got two new coordinators. The other hire, the exciting hire for me out of these two, and Gus Malzahn's, they've brought in Tony White from Nebraska. He's had two top 25 national defenses there. He runs this modified 3-3-5 scheme where you have the really athletic linebackers, the secondary guys, and then you've just got straight up killers on the defensive line because a lot of burden is put on them. But I mean, you look at that Nebraska D line of the last couple of years, it's fierce. And their problem is they're paired with an absolutely shoddy offense, which keeps them out on the field all the time. And they usually suffer from getting gassed, and yet still these rank high. This feels like a great hire, and he might bring some good recruits with him because a few of that Nebraska
he
D
already is.
are in the
James William,
portal,
the star Nebraska edge rusher.
and that's going to
Visits this week.
be
Have
day
you ever
one
seen that guy?
starter.
6'6", 250. The guy is built like he's built like an absolute skyscraper. Five
Mhm.
sacks this year. Like I say, he's definitely going to commit to Florida State. There's no way they're going to let him leave without him getting his commitment. His DC comes, if they get James Williams, his draft stock will go through the roof next year. Like I say,
And
big enough to play against the run and a sack man. I think he can play in a three-man front.
and Marvin Jones just hopped in the portal,
Yeah.
so he's obviously not
Yeah.
convinced he's going to get a
Butler,
starting
like I
gig there
said,
next
the
year.
two Nebraska edge rushers last year, I think they got more sacks, are already visiting Florida State. Because, and what does that tell you? They will follow that guy to the ends of the earth.
Yeah,
They'll follow him around the country. And for me, that's a guy I want to play for.
yeah.
He's already having a big effect. And that just tells you how good a hire it is.
It is. And, the linebackers that come out of Nebraska, they're always really good. Like
They're
this
going to
is
get a lot of defensive recruitments out of the portal that want to come
mm,
play for the coach and like the scheme.
yeah, I mean obviously you've got a scheme change to come in, but it feels like this is a great hire. Like
Yeah.
this is a chance for him to take his top 25 defense to a team that can compete for a national championship
As you say,
rather than
this
be
year,
burrowing the barrel.
this year was a disaster. So, would you know what? It's a blank canvas.
Mhm.
Can't get any lower. The floor, you're at the floor. The only way is up. So if you want to schematically change it and it gets to adapt it, that's fine. This will be a long-term position. There's
Oh,
no quick fix here.
yeah, definitely. But it feels like they've made two incredibly good, and he's not the only one. So they've bought the D-line coach with them as well, Terrence Knighton, is it?
Nothing, yeah.
So not only is he bringing his players, but he's bringing his positional staff with him as well. And again, you remember that D-line performance against Colorado? They murdered Shador Sanders on that line, which was
Yeah.
actually pretty good in the Big 12 this year, and they just absolutely destroyed it to bits. I mean, again, just a positional guy, but it just feels like they are knocking it out the park with the signings.
Yeah. I like both hires. I reckon the Seminoles will be back nationally favorably looked on within a year or two. Can they get Dylan Raiola? I've seen him multiple times feel the need to come out and reassure people that he won't hit the portal. That screams to me a guy that is going to eventually hit the portal. If you have to
Yeah,
keep reassuring someone, that's because there's doubt.
yeah, absolutely. And maybe, it's a good program to go to and one that's nationally affiliated. They've also bought the safeties coach over Evan Cooper. So that's him, his D-line coach, his safeties coach. Like, you've got a pretty good chunk of the Nebraska team coming over here. And then I think the other one they got, so they've got a new offensive line head coach as well, Herb Hand, and he's worked with Malzahn before. He's worked with him at Tulsa, and this was years ago. Actually, when Mike Norvell was on staff there, so he knows Norvell from a really long time ago. But he also coached the Auburn teams from years, so you
So
know,
there's interwebs in on both sides of the
yeah.
ball.
You
These
bring
guys, they're not bringing in strangers.
No,
They're
you're not
bringing in
bringing a
guys they've worked
smorgasbord
with.
of randomers in. You're bringing two very efficient staffs who know each other, have played together, and again, that O line was trash for them this year. That's got to get a lot better. So, I do.
That tells me Norvell, there'll be no interference. The
No,
defense, like I said, they're a
yeah,
unit.
let them get on with
They
it.
run themselves. Let Malzahn run the offense. You
Yeah,
stick to head coaching.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so I think that's pretty much all we've got today. We've been going on for a while. Let me just check I've not missed anything out. So Lisa goes, anyone seen the college playoff standings yet? Yeah, we discussed that earlier. Rarely, we both think they're correct. So we've got no issues other than we think it's great. No one missed out who shouldn't have missed out. No one got in who shouldn't have got in. I think they smashed the first 12 team playoffs out the pocket. Yeah, I think that's about everything. Unless there's anything, I'll just go through all the housekeeping bits to end this. If there's anything you quickly want to get in before we go, let me know. But next show's coming up. The main podcast, Main Lines podcast, is coming up on this Friday, sorry, Friday the 13th. For those of the superstitious nature, it is the Buffalo Bills preview. Join us for that. And then me and Ryan will be back next week around the 18th of December to preview the playoffs. And given that it's a week where we've got no reviews or anything to do, we'll probably have a little initial look at the 2025 NFL draft as well, because a lot of players are declaring. So we'll get those lists, we'll have a look at them, see if the players who are intriguing us who have declared thus far. So we'll do our little bit into that there. Obviously, you can find us at Royal Lines UK all over the interweb. Just type it in and you will find us. Anything else you want to mention college football related, Rye, before we get out of here today?
Nope. I'm just very intrigued.
Likewise, bring on the playoffs. I'm ready for them already. Fast forward a week and a half and let's get them going because I'm just so excited to see the new format. It's going to be great. And hopefully we have a shock or two in there. Thanks to Brent. Thanks to Lisa. Thanks to Mile Marker. Appreciate you all for joining us as always. Really appreciate it. Again, we're coming into draft season, so if there's anything you want us to do, any players you want us to look at, all that good stuff, let us know. We will start on it now. I'm starting to compile my big book with all my notes in here. I've got a few players in so far. This will be fun in a few months' time to the brim. So let me know. We will sort it all out for you. But yeah.
Star Mississippi State receiver Kevin Coleman.
Oh, oh,
Paul. That might be a new wide
ooh.
receiver one.
Oh, we'll have a look there. All Oklahoma's receivers are in the portal as well. So yeah, receiver crazy. You need a receiver in this year's transfer portal market. Good Lord, you have got your choice of the best. But we'll keep you updated on that as always. Thank you ever so much. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you. And we shall see you again soon. One Pride.
Recording stopped.